Chapter 12:15. Feng Huangmei's mouth twitched when he heard this. Ning Cheng was too ruthless. There were 4 major branches of the karma cultivation method, and this time, he took both of the Mao family's major branches. Feng Huangmei knew all too well that the Mao family possessed the great formless method and the 12 syllables mantra. Mao Wuxiao clenched his fists, then relaxed them, then clenched them again. Finally, he looked at the 3 stone bridges filled with death aura and the surging blood river in the void. Finally, he sighed and took out an ancient jade slip and threw it to Ning Cheng. If Feng Huangmei didn't intervene, with Ning Cheng's strength, even if he couldn't kill the Mao family's Dao integration holy emperors, he could still slaughter the Mao family's disciples. If the Mao family was slaughtered, what was the point of a few Dao integration holy emperors? This time, after throwing the jade slip to Ning Cheng, he didn't even bother to speak. After Ning Cheng confirmed that it was indeed the great formless method, he threw the ancient jade slip into his ring. The old man on the side almost drooled as he watched Ning Cheng put away the 2 major branches of the karma cultivation method. Although the minor formless method in his hand was also a branch of the karma cultivation method, it was still inferior to the great formless method and the 12 syllables mantra. He was thinking in his heart, as to what he could do to make this senior Ning Cheng give him a copy of these 2 cultivation methods. Family head Mao, you just said that the 12 syllables mantra is your Mao family's cultivation method. Then let me ask you, how many people in your Mao family cultivate the 12 syllables mantra? After Ning Cheng put away the things, he didn't return them to Mao Kai. Instead, he asked an irrelevant question. Mao Wuxiao didn't know what Ning Cheng meant, but he said with a gloomy face, the 12 syllables mantra is my Mao family's cultivation method. My Mao family's thousands of core disciples all cultivate the 12 syllables mantra. Ning Cheng then asked, I'm afraid the Mao family has far more than a few thousand disciples, right? Only these few people cultivate the 12 syllables mantra. Does this cultivation method really belong to the Mao family? I've already given you the cultivation method, but you're still complaining. Mao Wuyao snorted. This is the Mao family's rule. The 12 syllables Sanskrit is the Mao family's top-notch cultivation technique. Naturally, the people who cultivate it are the least. Ning Cheng nodded, I understand. Jiang Man's corporeal body was destroyed, and his life essence was burned for several years. Just when Mao Wuxiao was waiting for Ning Cheng to open his lion's mouth, Ning Cheng suddenly changed the topic. In fact, these things are not important. Now we can talk about other compensations. Mao Wuxiao gnashed his teeth and said, say it, the Mao family will compensate according to the circumstances. Ning Cheng gave an "n" sound. Good, according to the images that I have investigated, everyone can also see it. Back then, Jiang Man used his own items to purchase the Nirvana Fire Divine Art for 130 million. Afterward, he didn't even get to see this divine art before he was brought here by the Mao family. According to family head Mao, the Nirvana Fire Divine Art was obviously inferior to the 12 syllables mantra. Since the Mao clan had thousands of people cultivating the 12 syllables incantation, then the number of people cultivating the Nirvana Fire Divine Art would probably be more than 10,000. Since Dao Lord Empyrean Lord is here, I'll have to give him some face. How about this, Jiang Man's Nirvana Fire Sacred Art was bought for 100 million, and the Mao family had 5,000 people cultivating it. I believe that everyone who cultivates this divine ability has carved a copy of it. This way, it adds up to 500 billion high-grade divine crystals. Family head Mao, please pay for this. Ning Cheng, you're going too far. Mao Wuxiao roared angrily. He couldn't bear it any longer. Even if he sold off the entire Mao family, he might not be able to gather 500 billion divine crystals. Feng Huang also frowned. It seemed that Ning Cheng was determined to destroy the Mao family. Although he was unwilling to fight with Ning Cheng for the Mao family, he was still the Heaven Master of Heavens Beyond. If he didn't do anything when he was forced to this point, he would be ridiculed in Heavens Beyond in the future. Not only was Mao Wuxiao furious, but the people of the Mao family were also like ignited cannons. Violent Dao rune auras merged together as if they could turn this place into nothingness at any time. Ning Cheng's face froze. He lifted his foot, and another cyan stone arch bridge appeared under his feet. A surging and roaring yellow river surrounded him violently, as if it would pounce out in the next moment and swallow everything. The surging killing intent of the Dao runes surged on the roaring yellow river, becoming more and more intense. The yellow springs is boundless, without good or evil. Souls turn to dust, and spirits are lost. The words of the murderous Dao runes increased the oppressive aura of the river, and an even more intense death aura filled the air. The cultivators of the Mao family with low cultivation were shrouded by such a terrifying killing intent of the yellow springs. Their Dao rune auras immediately began to dissipate, and their auras slowly dissipated. The fourth Yellow Springs Bridge. Mao Wuxiao's eyes narrowed, and his anger completely disappeared. The fourth Yellow Springs Bridge and the fifth Reincarnation Bridge had appeared, so Ning Cheng most likely had the complete 7 bridges divine ability. Sensing the aura of the Mao family's disciples dissipating and their Dao runes loosening, Mao Wuxiao sighed helplessly as he looked at the somewhat fearful Feng Huang. Without the patriarch, the Mao family was indeed a second-rate family. Even a small primordial chaos sacred emperor had come to bully them. The Mao family will fight. Mao Jinyu said sternly. The Dao runes around him almost condensed into a substantial killing intent, waiting for Mao Wuxiao's order. Mao Wuxiao forcibly suppressed his endless anger and raised his hand to stop Mao Wuxiao. Fight? Fight with what? If he did not know Ning Cheng's strength, he could still fight. Ning Cheng had blasted off an arm of Mao Tai, who was at the mid-stage Dao integration realm, with one punch. If Qiu Yi, the manager of the Heavens Beyond Rest Inn, had not stopped him, Mao Tai would have died in the Heavens Beyond Rest Inn. With such terrifying strength and the 7 bridges divine ability, would he dare to fight? Feng Huang's eyebrows twitched. He had guessed correctly. Ning Cheng had really mastered the 7 bridges divine ability. Should he still fight? If he failed to take down Ning Cheng, not only would he be a scourge in the future, but his reputation in Heavens Beyond would also be damaged. After experiencing such a thing once, he was afraid that he would stop at his current cultivation level for the rest of his life. Daoist Ning, if you are determined to fight, the Mao family will accompany you to the end. Not to mention the Mao family, even the Myriad Realm auction might not be able to take out 500 billion divine crystals. Mao Wuxiao took a deep breath and said. If Ning Cheng was unwilling to reduce the number, he would have to fight. Ning Cheng said in a cold tone, how much can the Mao family take out? 100 billion divine crystals at most, Mao Wuxiao said in a deep voice. To Mao Wuxiao's surprise, Ning Cheng nodded. Okay, 100 billion divine crystals it is. Take it out. Mao Wuxiao was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. If he had known that Ning Cheng would be so straightforward, he definitely would not have said 100 billion. He would have said 50 billion divine crystals at most. Since he had agreed, Mao Wuxiao could only take out a ring and throw it to Ning Cheng. Feng Huang heaved a sigh of relief. It was best not to fight. After Ning Cheng checked the divine crystals, he suddenly said, today's matter will end here. As for Brother Jiang Man's physical body being destroyed, I won't ask the Mao family for compensation. Mao Wuxiao also heaved a sigh of relief. It was rare that Ning Cheng was so reasonable and did not want the Mao family to compensate for the destruction of his physical body. But before he could thank him, Ning Cheng suddenly threw Mao Kai to him and said, I wanted to keep Mao Kai's essence spirit for a few years. But after thinking about it, I decided to forget about it. Be a generous person. Mao Wuxiao immediately felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, Mao Kai's body suddenly turned into a blood mist less than 10 feet away from his divine spear and disappeared without a trace. Mao Kai's essence spirit, which was about to collapse, fled frantically in horror. The suppression of the 4 major bridges on him was too terrifying. Seeing this scene, Mao Wuxiao gritted his teeth, and his chest felt as if it was blocked. Ning Cheng will visit Tao Monarch Heavenly Master next time. I'll take my leave first today. While he vomited blood in depression, he finally saw Ning Cheng turn around and leave with his people. Well said, well said. After Feng Huangmei replied, his figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He also did not have the face to continue visiting the Mao family. Although he managed to save the Mao family from destruction, the Mao family had suffered a huge loss this time. Master is mighty. Chasing Bull ran up to Ning Cheng with a dusty face and spoke with a flattering tone. Ning Cheng patted the bull's head, "You lazy thing. With so many resources in your hands, you only know how to eat, drink, and play. With such a low cultivation, an illusion array's killing intent can bury you underground. I'll give you a few more years. If you still can't reach Dao sculpting, you can fuck off." Ning Cheng had a good understanding of Chasing Bull's qualifications. It was a spirit beast. If it concentrated on cultivation, its cultivation wouldn't be so bad. Chasing Bull had to promise with a bitter face that it would work hard to improve its cultivation. But in its heart, it wailed that its happy days were coming to an end. "Big brother Ning, are we still going to live in heavens beyond?" Mu Yueping asked, but she was worried about Jiang Man's essence spirit. Ning Cheng pondered for a while and said, "No, let's go to the Western Domain Spatial Rest Stop opposite the Myriad World Auction." He had fought against the manager of the Heavens Beyond Rest Stop, but he wasn't afraid of the manager and didn't want to stay in this rest stop. The Western Domain Spatial Rest Stop looked much smaller than the Heavens Beyond Rest Stop. When Ning Cheng and the others came over, they saw a high-class suite inside. Ning Cheng almost fought with the Mao clan, but not many people knew about it. Ning Cheng and the others' cultivation could only be regarded as above average in the mysterious yellow heavens beyond. Therefore, the rest stop didn't pay much attention to them. Senior. As soon as Ning Cheng and the others entered the rest stop, the old fogey called out with a flattering face. Ning Cheng understood the old fogey's thoughts and spoke with a calm voice, "Which cultivation method do you want to see? The major formless cultivation method or the 12 secret words mantra?" When the old fogey heard Ning Cheng's words, he understood that Ning Cheng wouldn't give him both cultivation methods. Therefore, he said, "This junior wants to see the major formless cultivation method." The major formless cultivation method was the largest branch of the karmic cultivation method. Only a fool would want to learn the 12 secret words mantra, which was a spirit technique. Ning Cheng nodded, "It's not impossible to get the major formless cultivation method. Just use your minor formless cultivation method to exchange." The old fogey wailed in his heart. He knew that it wouldn't be so easy to obtain. Fortunately, exchanging the minor formless cultivation method for the major formless cultivation method would still earn him a lot. Chapter 12:16. The old man did not hesitate to take out an ancient jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng, "Senior, this is this junior's minor phaseless technique." Ning Cheng put away the jade strip, and spoke to the old man, "I'll take a look first, I'll return the grand phaseless technique to you in a moment, we have a guest coming." The old fogey did not care about it. With his understanding of Ning Cheng, he knew that Ning Cheng would never let go of his minor phaseless technique. Besides, even if Ning Cheng did not give him the minor phaseless technique, he had already memorized this cultivation method by heart. "Dao friend Ning, are you here? Myriad World Auctions Shilin has come to visit." Ning Cheng's voice had just ended when Shilin's voice came through the door. Ning Cheng opened the restrictions around the room and came out with a smile, "So it turns out that manager she came in person. Hurry up and enter." This Myriad Realms auction was indeed formidable. He had just arrived at the inn, and Shilin had already followed him. For Shilin to arrive so quickly, it was obvious that he knew about him dealing with the Mao family. After Shilin came in and sat down, Ning Cheng took out the Heavenly Alliance's Stardew and poured a cup for Shilin. Then, he asked with a smile, I wonder if manager she has any advice for coming here. Shilin quickly spoke up, I wouldn't dare to advise you. I came here to congratulate you on returning the item to its rightful owner. Fellow Daoist Ning has managed to save your friend. One more thing, and that is to return some spirit crystals to fellow Daoist Ning. Previously, fellow Daoist Ning only asked for 30 million spirit crystals at my Myriad Realms auction to inquire about 3 years' worth of recordings. Lu Bai doesn't know much about this. Taking 80 million divine crystals from you is too much. After saying that, Shilin took out a ring and handed it to Ning Cheng. This contains the refunded 50 million spirit crystals. I hope Dao friend Ning doesn't mind my Myriad World Auction's mistake in this matter. Thank you very much. Ning Cheng also didn't remain polite. 30 million spirit crystals for 3 years' worth of video recordings was already a black mark. As for charging 80 million spirit crystals, it was simply insane. Shilin returned the god crystals to him. If he didn't accept it, it would only cause Shilin to think too much. If he accepted it, it would be good for both of them. In any case, he didn't intend to become enemies with the Myriad World Auction. Seeing Ning Cheng put away the spirit crystals, Shilin felt overjoyed. He picked up the cup of wine in front of him and took a sip. He then put down the cup in surprise and asked, Dao friend Ning, is this the Heaven Alliance's Stardew? Ning Cheng nodded, yes, this is indeed the Heaven Alliance's Stardew. The Heavenly Alliance Star, Sa, has a good relationship with me. This is also a gift from him. Shilin secretly nodded in his heart. Sure enough, this Dao friend Ning wasn't an ordinary primordial chaos holy emperor. If he was an ordinary primordial chaos sacred emperor, how could he become friends with Esau? It was said that Esau was already at the half-step integration realm. Although the rumors might not necessarily be true, Esau was definitely at the perfected Dao integration realm. The Mao family has been running amok in the beyond of heaven and earth. Daoist Ning, you've taught them a lesson this time. Shilin decided to rope in an expert with great potential like Ning Cheng. Since they wanted to rope him in, they had to be on the same side. The Myriad World Auction House handed over the video to Ning Cheng without informing the Mao family in advance, which was tantamount to offending the Mao family. Ning Cheng naturally understood Shilin's meaning and showed a faint smile, I'm just looking for them to take back what belonged to my friend. Shilin drank another mouthful of wine and spoke with some disdain, the Mao clan has been bullying the weak for a long time. Do you know how the Mao clan's 12 syllables mantra came about? It turns out that the 12 syllables mantra belonged to a foreign primordial chaos sacred emperor in the beyond of heaven and earth. This primordial chaos sacred emperor had settled down in the beyond of heaven and earth with his family. Because he had accidentally exposed that he cultivated the 12-word Sanskrit, the Mao family had found an excuse to kill his entire family and snatch the 12-word Sanskrit. Many people in the beyond of heaven and earth know about this. However, the Mao family is powerful, so nobody dares to provoke them. Ning Cheng secretly thought that the Mao family was indeed used to robbing and was ruthless. For the sake of a cultivation technique, under the circumstances where there was no enmity between them, he killed them all. Shilin sighed and said, that primordial chaos sacred emperor was also very strong. The Mao family lost 6 late-stage primordial chaos experts to kill him. That's because the primordial chaos sacred emperor's 12 syllables mantra was cultivated to an extremely profound level. Even though he was killed by the Mao family, there was still resentment lingering at the place where he perished all year round. This resentment formed a faint resentment whirlpool that did not disperse for many years. The people of the beyond of heaven and earth call the place where the primordial chaos sacred emperor perished the land of karma and resentment. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He had been a small cultivator with no foundation to this day. How many times had he almost been killed in between? The vast void contained limitless possibilities, as well as innumerable dangers. How many people had been killed because of this, just like the primordial chaos sacred emperor who had been killed by the Mao family. Take Jiang Man for example. If he had not come here, Jiang Man would probably have perished. Ning Cheng, who did not want to talk about this, changed the topic and said, if manager Shi had not come, I would have gone to look for you. Shi Lin immediately said, I came here today because of this matter. Didn't Taoist Ning say that you were interested in the Myriad Realm Auction's growing soil and connate Dragon Ball? After some discussion, the Myriad Realm Auction has decided to use another method. Upon hearing this, Ning Cheng hurriedly asked, may I know what method the Myriad Realm Auction will use? Shi Lin said with a smile, we've decided to use an auction method. You know that the growing soil and connate Dragon Ball are the top treasures of the Myriad Realm Auction. Using an auction method can better attract the popularity of the Myriad Realm Auction. Of course, in the end, these two things will definitely belong to Taoist Ning. Besides divine crystals, divine spirit meridians, and divine essence pills, the auction will also accept the barter of various treasures and Tao fruits. I believe that no one can take out Taoist Ning's chaos chi and quintessential essence of the universe. Even in the heavens beyond of heaven and earth, I'm afraid no one would dare say that they are richer than Taoist Ning. Ning Cheng had a smile on his face. After Shi Lin spoke about the auction method, he immediately understood what the Myriad World Auction was planning. It could be said that the Myriad Realm Auction was too sinister. This kind of auction did have the influence factor that Shi Lin had mentioned, but it was probably more of an attempt to shift the pressure. Once he took out things like the quintessential essence of the universe and chaos chi, all eyes would be on him. This way, the Myriad Realm Auction would not be questioned by many forces because of the sudden appearance of the quintessential essence of the universe. Another point was that once someone took out something better than his quintessential essence of the universe and chaos chi, the Myriad Realm Auction would definitely not choose Ning Cheng. After the auction ended, no matter if he bought the living soil or took out the treasures to buy the living soil, he would be the target of many gazes. However, Ning Cheng acted as if he did not hear anything and said in a very understanding manner, of course, if I have such treasures, I will also take the opportunity to expand the influence of my auction. I'm definitely going to participate in this auction. Moreover, I'm determined to obtain these two treasures. Shi Lin took out a jade card with a smile and handed it to Ning Cheng while saying, Taoist Ning, the auction will be brought forward to 20 days later. This is the jade card of the Myriad Realm Auction's number 8 private room. The Myriad Realm Auction only has 10 top-class private rooms, and each private room is a symbol of status. Alright, thank you, Manager Shi. Ning Cheng took the jade card without hesitation, feeling even more disdainful in his heart. Moreover, they even prepared such a conspicuous luxurious box for him. Did he, Ning Cheng, look like an idiot? Seeing Ning Cheng take the jade card, Shi Lin suddenly spoke up, this auction also has a soul-gathering immortal lotus. Mu Yueping, who stood on the side, suddenly stood up when she heard about the soul-gathering immortal lotus and spoke up with excitement, is there really a soul-gathering immortal lotus? The soul-gathering immortal lotus was one of the best spiritual treasures for an essence spirit to reshape a corporeal body. Using the soul-gathering immortal lotus to reshape a corporeal body would not cause a drop in one's aptitude, nor would it affect one's comprehension of the Grand Tao. For most cultivators, it could even improve one's perception aptitude and cultivation aptitude. Someone once deliberately destroyed their original corporeal body to use the soul-gathering immortal lotus to reshape a corporeal body. The soul-gathering immortal lotus also had another function, which was to create a top-grade avatar. This thing was a priceless treasure for any starry sky cultivator. Shi Lin said with a smile, of course, it's definitely not fake. I guessed that Taoist Ning might need this treasure, so I came over to tell you. Senior, can you take out the soul-gathering immortal lotus and sell it to us? Mu Yueping asked with a trembling voice. Shi Lin spoke up with an embarrassed look, I'm afraid that it would be difficult. This was sent by a guest, and I can't make the decision. Ning Cheng stopped Mu Yueping, who still wanted to speak, and said to Shilin, "Many thanks for manager Shi's warning. In 20 days, we will definitely go to the auction." Shilin stood up and cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng. "In that case, I'll be taking my leave." Ning Cheng sent Shilin out of the room and activated the restrictions before speaking to Mu Yueping. "It's no use. Even if he was willing to sell it to us, he wouldn't have given me the auction's jade card. You can rest assured that I will definitely bid for this soul-gathering immortal lotus." Ning Cheng returned to his room and immediately took out the karma cultivation method jade strip that Jiang Man had given him before. At the same time, he swept out with his spiritual consciousness. The grand Tao of the universe is the great karma, the Tao of karma is vast. Karma is the cause, and great karma originates from illusions. The black Tao strip that Jiang Man had given him was mysterious and complex. Ning Cheng felt sure that if not for him cultivating a good fortune cultivation method, it would not have been easy for him to understand this black strip. At the end of the first paragraph, there was a sentence, "This secret art is the karma cultivation method's 10,000 will bright jade." Ning Cheng immediately understood what was going on. The jade strip that Jiang Man gave him was not the complete karma cultivation method, but the 10,000 will bright jade art of the karma cultivation method. The 12-character mantra plus the big and small formless cultivation method, as well as the 10,000 will bright jade art in his hands. From the looks of it, he had gathered the 4 major branches of the karma cultivation method. Ning Cheng put the 10,000 will bright jade art aside and once again took out the great formless technique jade strip. Sure enough, the introduction of the great formless technique began. The karma Tao is a Tao derived from the heaven and earth. It is the great formless sacred art, the 10,000 will bright jade art, the 12-character mantra sacred art. Only the great formless sacred art is the ultimate. It uses fearlessness, the great Tao, and the great wisdom to transform into formless. Chapter 12-17. Ning Cheng put down the major non-phase cultivation method in surprise. He had unexpectedly gathered the complete karma cultivation method without even realizing it. After Jiang Man's corporeal body recovered, he would give the complete karma cultivation technique to Jiang Man and his wife. It would definitely be many times more powerful than the 1,000 wheels bright jade. After confirming that the 4 jade strips in his hands were the 4 branches of the karma cultivation method, Ning Cheng began to duplicate the jade strips. Only after starting to copy the karma cultivation method jade strip did Ning Cheng realize how difficult it was. All kinds of Tao charm auras were complex and boundless. If he didn't cultivate the mysterious yellow formless, even if he reached the 3rd step of Tao confirming realm, he might not necessarily be able to carve it. This kind of complex and esoteric jade strip, with Ning Cheng's current strength, he could only carve one every 2 days. 14 days later, Ning Cheng re-engraved the 7 jade strips. 4 of them were the big and small phaseless technique, 10,000 wheels bright jade, and 12 words mantra. The other 2 were the big phaseless technique, and the last one was the small phaseless technique. As for the set of karma cultivation method, Ning Cheng had left it to Jiang Man. Ning Cheng intended to give one of the 2 grand phaseless methods to that old fogey, and keep the other one with him, waiting for Yu Yu to come back to find him. Ning Cheng was sure that with Yu Yu's opportunistic nature, he would definitely come back to him for the great non-phase technique. "I can give you the cultivation technique, but I risked my life to obtain it. Naturally, I won't give it to you for free. If you want it, then you can exchange it with something of equal value." Putting away these jade strips, Ning Cheng did not immediately go out. Instead, he began to refine pills and craft artifacts. What Ning Cheng wanted to refine was the Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill. This kind of Tao pill was extremely difficult to refine, and it could not even be refined in a plane with incomplete laws. For many starry sky cultivators, the Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill was very important. This was a Tao pill from the 1st step to the 2nd step. Its value was simply immeasurable. Although there were many primordial chaos sacred emperors in the beyond of heaven and earth, in fact, these primordial chaos sacred emperors had been gathered from various realms. There were more low-level sacred emperors in the beyond of heaven and earth. After refining the pill, Ning Cheng also refined a set of appearance-changing masks. Not only was this mask his appearance, but it also contained a trace of his Dao rune aura and a trace of his spiritual will. After going into seclusion for more than 10 days, Ning Cheng came out and saw the old man sitting in the living room drinking in boredom. Seeing Ning Cheng come out, the old man almost jumped up. Ning Cheng had gone into seclusion for such a long time, yet he did not show him the grand phaseless technique, which made him feel somewhat tormented. Ning Cheng did not wait for the old fogey to speak, as he took out 2 jade strips and handed them to the old fogey and spoke, "This is the big and small phaseless method, I have carved 2 of them. I still want to study the small phaseless method's original jade strip." The old man excitedly grabbed the 2 jade slips and said, "I don't want that jade slip, I'll give it to Senior." In fact, even if Ning Cheng did not carve a minor phaseless cultivation method for him, he would not care about it. Now that he had obtained the greater phaseless technique, how could he be in the mood to care about the lesser phaseless technique? Seeing the old fogey grabbing the jade strip and about to enter his room to cultivate, Ning Cheng quickly called out to him, "Old fogey, wait a minute, tomorrow is the day of the auction, I still have something that I need your help with." Only then did the old fogey remember that the auction was tomorrow. He quickly put away the jade strip and spoke with an excited tone, "Senior, please instruct me. I will have to change my appearance to participate in the auction tomorrow. As for you, you will have to change your appearance to my appearance and go to VIP booth 8 to represent me in the auction." Ning Cheng said as he took out the appearance-changing mask that he had refined and handed it to the old man. The old fogey had naturally heard Shi Lin's words. However, he had not thought much about it as it had nothing to do with him. Now that Ning Cheng had taken out the appearance-changing mask, the old fogey instantly understood what was going on. He secretly admired Ning Cheng in his heart. Sure enough, this old fogey had even prepared this. The old fogey was sure that he did not need to bear any danger. Therefore, when he heard Ning Cheng's words, he patted his chest without hesitation and said, "Senior, rest assured. Leave this matter to me. Okay, as long as you do a good job, I can even give you a drop of the quintessential essence of the universe when you come back." Ning Cheng patted the old fogey's shoulder and said. The old fogey was so excited that he could not control himself. The moment he knew that Ning Cheng had the quintessential essence of the universe, he had wanted it. However, he had no reason to want it. Now that Ning Cheng had taken the initiative to take out a drop of the quintessential essence of the universe, he was sure that he could use this drop of quintessential essence of the universe to restore himself to the early stage Tao integration realm. Moreover, this drop of quintessential essence of the universe would improve his aptitude by another level. Then, "Senior, what do I need to do?" The old fogey put this matter aside and began to think about how he could make a contribution. Ning Cheng took out a ring and handed it to the old fogey. "Feel free to use the things in this ring. No matter what, you have to get the soul-gathering immortal lotus. I won't send you a voice transmission unless it's absolutely necessary. Once it's absolutely necessary, I'll send you a voice transmission. This ring has a trace of my spiritual force. Don't talk too much and don't release your aura. No one will recognize you. I promise to get the soul-gathering immortal lotus." The old fogey's spiritual force scanned the divine spirit meridians, divine crystals, and some treasures in the ring. His eyes almost popped out. There were so many good things. If he could not even get a soul-gathering immortal lotus, he would simply be a noob. Ning Cheng had been in seclusion for 20 days, so he naturally did not know how lively heavens beyond of heaven and earth was now. The reason was that the Myriad Realm auction had suddenly released a big move, which was to decide the auction of the store's treasures, the breath soil and the connate dragon pearl. Not only that, but it was said that there were also tens of top treasures and peerless materials. There were even soul-gathering immortal lotus and outer realm mist silk. Today was the start of the Myriad Realm auction. The square in front of the Myriad Realm auction was quite big. But at this moment it was still packed with people. Ning Cheng and the old fogey came separately. In order to prevent any problems, Ning Cheng even let Chasing Bull and Mu Yueping enter the true spirit world. Ning Cheng also put the creation divine spear in the true spirit world. When he arrived at the Myriad Realm auction, Ning Cheng was dumbfounded. There were so many people here, and there were voices asking for admission tickets everywhere. He did not even need to think about it to know that he would not be able to buy an admission ticket at this time. The old fogey had a jade card for a private room. Not only was it easy for him to enter, but there was also a special woman to lead the way. Seeing a large group of people enter the auction, Ning Cheng became anxious. He grabbed a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor who was about to enter and urgently transmitted his voice, "Tao friend, give me your admission ticket and I'll give you a Heaven Essence Heaven Pill." The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor who was about to explode after hearing the first half of Ning Cheng's words shook. He stared at Ning Cheng in shock and stuttered, "What did you say?" "Heaven." Ning Cheng didn't wait for him to finish and stuffed a jade bottle into his hand. "Look at it yourself." The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor quickly grabbed the jade bottle and didn't dare to open it. His spirit sense seeped in. Luckily, Ning Cheng didn't put any restrictions on it. He immediately saw a milky white Tao pill at the bottom of the bottle. This qi was the qi of the Heaven Essence Heaven Pill, and it was a top-grade Heaven Essence Heaven Pill. Here. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor seemed to be afraid that Ning Cheng would change his mind. He stuffed the jade card into Ning Cheng's hand and disappeared. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief. Exchanging a Heaven Essence Heaven Pill for an admission ticket was indeed a big loss. However, in this situation, he wouldn't be able to enter at all. The number on the jade card was the bottom floor, Hall C, row 237, seat 105. It could be seen that this seat belonged to the back of the hall. It was an inconspicuous seat. Ning Cheng didn't care. He was disguised as a gray-haired old man, Tao Essence Tertiary Stage. This cultivation level wasn't eye-catching at all in the crowd. The Myriad Realm auction was split into 3 levels. Each level had hundreds of thousands of seats. In the middle of the auction was a floating auction stage. There was a teleportation platform on the auction stage. Any item was traded on the spot. If someone was found to have made a false bid, they would be killed on the spot. Above the auction stage, there was also a floating array formation monitoring screen. This array formation monitoring screen would display the highest bid and the previous bids. Ning Cheng followed the crowd to the bottom floor, Hall C, row 237, seat 105 and sat down. He immediately put up a restriction. As for who was sitting next to him, Ning Cheng didn't care at all. After Ning Cheng sat down, he waited for nearly an hour before the entire auction hall quieted down. A powerful spiritual force aura swept over every seat. This was definitely the aura of a perfected Tao integration cultivator. The Myriad Realm auction was very famous in the beyond of heaven and earth. Even without this Tao integration aura, no one would be tired of living and cause trouble there. After the aura disappeared, a pretty and enchanting female cultivator walked onto the auction stage. The deepest impression of this pretty female cultivator was that she was very beautiful. Just by standing there, the faint fragrance of her body seemed to have spread in front of everyone. Ning Cheng could tell that this was a Tao rune aura. This female cultivator wasn't just beautiful. Her cultivation level was already at the late-stage primordial chaos realm. She was an absolute expert. Welcome to the auction held by the Myriad Realm auction. I believe that the treasures in this auction won't disappoint you. When the pretty female cultivator spoke, it was as if she was whispering in everyone's ears, calming them down instantly. By now, even those who couldn't see through the woman's cultivation level knew that she was not simple. I'm sure everyone knows the rules of the Myriad Realm auction. To sum it up, don't make false bids. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Not only do we accept divine crystals, but we also accept divine spirit meridians, divine essence pills, Tao fruits, and various treasures. Alright, I won't waste any more of your time. The auction will begin now. The first item to be sold is a high-grade Saint Tao array pattern. The starting price of this array pattern is 10 million divine crystals. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 divine crystals. Let's start the bidding now. Ning Cheng's heart shook slightly after hearing the pretty woman's words. He was a top-notch array Tao master who surpassed divine array masters, so he naturally knew what an array pattern was. Could this high-grade Saint Tao array pattern have been set up by a top-notch array Tao Almighty who surpassed divine array masters? Chapter 12:18. Ning Cheng really wanted this high-grade Saint Tao array pattern, but thinking that this was the first treasure, once he bid for it, it would immediately attract a lot of attention, which would put him at a disadvantage when bidding for the breath soil. In case the auction house found him suspicious, it might cause more twists and turns in the bidding for the breath soil. On the huge monitoring screen above the auction stage, the highest bid had already risen from 10 million to 90 million, and it was still rising. 110 million. Private room number 10 has bid 110 million. After the number 10 million appeared on the array formations monitoring screen, the rising price stopped abruptly. After a few breaths, the pretty-looking female cultivator hosting the auction began to bid. Ning Cheng felt a little puzzled. The price of this Saint Tao array pattern was definitely more than 110 million. Ning Cheng wouldn't feel surprised even if it sold for 300 million. Ning Cheng didn't expect that no one would bid after 110 million. Was it because they feared booth 10? Or were there very few people interested in the Tao of arrays nowadays? 110 million going once. 110 million going twice. 110 million going once. Deal. Congratulations to the Tao friend in booth 10 for getting off to a good start and obtaining this precious Saint Tao array disc. With the pretty-looking female cultivator's hammer, the auction of the first item came to an end. The transmission platform on the auction stage quickly completed the transaction. From beginning to end, Ning Cheng didn't even see what this Saint Tao array pattern was. The second item we want to auction is a semi-top grade spirit artifact, Sky Connecting Hammer. This time, the pretty-looking woman directly took out a jade plate and placed it on the void supporting array in front of her. On the jade plate was a purple octagonal sledgehammer. The sledgehammer exuded a strong murderous aura from top to bottom, which made people understand that this weapon wasn't simple at first glance. The starting price of the Sky Connecting Hammer is also 10 million spirit crystals, and each bid increment must be no less than 100,000. No matter how the pretty-looking female cultivator on the stage boasted, Ning Cheng had no interest in it. This semi-top grade spirit artifact, as long as he had top-grade materials, he could craft it. For him, this Sky Connecting Hammer didn't attract him at all. The Sky Connecting Hammer might be useless to Ning Cheng, but for others, it was a treasure that they could only dream of. This treasure was much more attractive than the Saint Tao array pattern. For a while, the bids on the array formation monitoring screen refreshed at the fastest speed possible. The Supreme Sky Hammer was quickly slapped out, followed by a series of Dharma treasures and Tao fruits. Although there were a few that attracted Ning Cheng's attention, Ning Cheng still refrained from bidding. The old man only had one task, and that was to bid for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Before Ning Cheng spoke, even if he wanted something, he wouldn't dare to bid for it. This was a major event for Ning Cheng. Even if he had more courage, he would not dare to make a decision on his own. The next item to be auctioned is the Sky Martial Void-Breaking Fruit. Even though this Tao fruit isn't very useful to many cultivators, it is one of the most precious Tao fruits for martial cultivators. If martial Tao Kuden Cheng and could Tao, the Tao Kuden disc, couldn't help but to think. Pill Tao related refining Tao related, the heaven martial Tao Cheng's Tao was. Of Tao related pill, the Tao of the Tao. Of Dao 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 related of Chen of Dao Dao. And he had the Dao the sect. The heaven martial void breaking fruit was one of the best Dao fruits for martial Dao cultivators. Regardless of whether one could perfect one's Dao, the value of the heaven martial void breaking fruit was immeasurable. Moreover, after Ning Cheng saw the universe flora, he knew that the heaven martial void breaking fruit was also useful to Dao cultivators. Moreover, it wasn't just one or two benefits. He had to get his hands on this Dao fruit, but he couldn't bid for it himself. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng didn't hesitate to send a sound transmission to the old man to bid for the heaven martial void breaking fruit. The soul-gathering immortal lotus hadn't come out yet, which made the old man sleepy. Now that he suddenly received Ning Cheng's message, he immediately sat up straight. Ning Cheng didn't want to alarm the auction house's powerhouse, so after sending a spiritual sense message to the old man, he immediately isolated his spiritual sense aura. Many people knew about the value of the heaven martial void breaking fruit. Although this Dao fruit didn't have any direct use for most people, everyone knew that as long as they had this Dao fruit, they could exchange it for many unimaginable treasures. The pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction raised her hand to calm down the slightly noisy auction hall and said in a crisp voice, "The base price of the heaven martial void breaking fruit is 100 million high-grade spirit crystals. Each bid must be at least 1 million high-grade spirit crystals. Let the bidding begin." Although the heaven martial void breaking fruit was precious, its price was equally terrifying. Even with such a high price, as soon as the initial price came out, the bidding on the array formation's monitoring screen kept flashing. In just a few breaths, the price exceeded 200 million. But soon, the price stopped at 500 million high-grade spirit crystals. It looks like the price didn't stop here, but because the person who bid 500 million was too outrageous, increasing the price by 300 million in one go. This price made many of the latest bids unable to be displayed. As such, it would naturally take some time to change the price again. The pretty-looking female cultivator on the auction stage said with a smile, "Booth 8 bids 500 million. Is there any higher bid than 500 million high-grade spirit crystals? If there is no higher bid, then this heaven martial void breaking fruit belongs to Booth 8. Ning Cheng secretly gave a thumbs up. This old fart was truly cunning. Even after living for countless years, this bid was much stronger than the average person. 500 million definitely couldn't buy the heaven martial void breaking fruit, but this bid would make others feel a bit of fear towards Booth 8. That was more than enough. Of course, one had to have enough money in their pockets to do such a thing. 500 million high-grade spirit crystals going once. The pretty-looking female cultivator had just called out a price when she saw a new bid appear on the monitoring screen, 510 million high-grade spirit crystals. The price of the heaven martial void breaking fruit has already reached 510 million high-grade spirit crystals. This is the price quoted by Booth 10. Is there any higher price than this? Although the pretty-looking female cultivator was still talking on the stage, Ning Cheng could hear that her voice no longer had the excitement from before. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out. Sure enough, a few holy emperors who hadn't put up any restrictions and were still hesitating immediately stopped hesitating after seeing the bid from Booth 10. Ning Cheng's gaze then fell on Booth 10. At this time, he felt almost certain that something was wrong with Booth 10. Most likely, the person inside made people feel afraid, which was why no one dared to bid. Moreover, Booth 10 also knew about this and increased the price by 1 million spirit crystals. Apparently, this fellow was a person who didn't care about the auction at all. 510 million spirit crystals going once, 510 million spirit crystals going twice. The pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction even removed the time interval between the calls. She seemed certain that Booth 10 would buy the heaven martial void breaking fruit for 510 million high-grade spirit crystals. 510 million. The female cultivator presiding over the auction hadn't even called out for the third time when she was surprised to find that the price on the monitoring screen had jumped again. She quickly stopped calling out. At this time, not to mention the female cultivator presiding over the auction, even the entire auction hall felt a bit strange. Who was this person, and why was he so bold? To actually compete with Booth 10, was this person tired of living? Not only did he bid, but he also increased the price to 1 billion spirit crystals. This time, everyone could clearly see that it was Booth 8 who increased the price to 1 billion spirit crystals. Bang! To Ning Cheng's surprise, the door of Booth 10 was opened. A young and handsome man stood at the door of the booth and shouted in displeasure, "Who's in Booth 8? How dare he bid with me? Come out." Usually, everyone only heard that the person in Booth 10 of the Myriad Realm auction should not be provoked. Almost no one in heavens beyond of heaven and earth did not know about this. As for who was in Booth 10, only a very small number of people knew about it. Now, everyone finally saw the person in Booth 10. It turned out to be a young man who had yet to attain Dao modeling. Daoist Yi, this is the auction venue of the Myriad Realm auction. Please return to your booth. If Daoist Yi insists on going against the Myriad Realm auction, even if your father comes, the Myriad Realm auction will still be in the right. A stern voice came. Although this voice was not suppressed by Dao runes, the surging aura made people feel an indescribable stuffiness in their hearts. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of my brother for what happened just now. It was our fault. Another young man came out. After apologizing, he pulled the arrogant young man into the booth. The booth's restriction was activated again. After this farce, no one continued to increase the price. The arrogant young man in Booth 10 also did not continue to increase the price. In the end, the old man bought the Sky Martial Void-Breaking Fruit with 1 billion high-grade divine crystals without any fuss. Some of the people who knew how powerful room number 10 was turned their sympathetic gazes towards the people outside room number 8. All cultivators in heaven and earths beyond knew that Booth 8 had always been a guest booth. This private room wasn't for a single person. Instead, it was for guests or outsiders who offered a terrifying amount of money to enter. Now that the person in Booth 8 was going against the person in Booth 10, it was obvious that he was an outsider who did not know how powerful the force behind Booth 10 was. Otherwise, he would not have dared to go against Booth 10 so openly. The woman hosting the auction on the auction stage also looked at Booth 8 in surprise. As the host of the auction, she naturally knew about it. She also knew that the background of the person in Booth 8 was very shocking. It was said that the Mao family had suffered a setback. Nobody knew what the outcome of the fight between the person in Booth 8 and the person in Booth 10 would be. In any case, it had nothing to do with the Myriad Realm auction. The female cultivator hosting the auction soon put these thoughts aside. She took out a jade box again and placed it on the void array supporting jade plate. Then, she said crisply, the next item for auction is also a top-notch treasure. Its value is definitely not lower than the Sky Martial Void-Breaking Fruit. It might even be more valuable than the Sky Martial Void-Breaking Fruit. Sure enough, a single sentence from him had attracted the attention of the entire auction house. What kind of treasure was more precious than the Sky Martial Void-Breaking Fruit? Since she had taken out a jade box, it seemed like it was not a Dao fruit but some materials. Chapter 12:19. This is a perfect body sculpting treasure. In this part of the void, I'm afraid there is nothing more powerful than this body sculpting treasure. Even the Nirvana nest might not be much stronger than this body sculpting treasure. The pretty-looking female cultivator hadn't even finished her words when the people in the auction hall started to talk about it. I know, this time's item must be the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Do you still need to say it? Everyone knows that it's the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Ning Cheng also felt excited. The soul-gathering immortal lotus was something he had to obtain. It was the best treasure for Jiang Man's body sculpting. He absolutely could not miss it. Sure enough, the pretty-looking female cultivator who hosted the auction smiled sweetly. I know that most of you already know what treasure you're about to bid on. That's right, it's the top-grade body sculpting treasure, the soul-gathering immortal lotus. I don't need to elaborate on the value of the soul-gathering immortal lotus. It's one of the few treasures that not only doesn't affect one's aptitude during body sculpting, it can even improve one's aptitude. For holy emperors who want to sculpt their avatars, the soul-gathering immortal lotus is the best choice. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness kept a close watch on the outside. Although most people, like him, had put on restrictions, he could still feel the excitement in the air. From this, it showed that there were definitely a lot of people who wanted the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Old fart, I'm counting on you this time. The base price of the soul-gathering immortal lotus is 100 million high-grade spirit crystals. Each increment must be no less than 1 million high-grade spirit crystals. Start bidding now. As the pretty-looking female cultivator's voice fell, the price on the monitor screen didn't stop flashing. 150 million. 170 million. Almost in the blink of an eye, the price of the soul-gathering immortal lotus rose to 360 million. No one increased the price by 1 million, and the lowest increment was at least 10 million. The old fart didn't rush to bid. Instead, he rubbed his hands. He knew that this auction was his main purpose for participating in this auction. 610 million. The surroundings instantly quieted down. Everyone knew that the owner of booth 10 had started bidding again. 1 billion spirit crystals. Others didn't dare to bid against booth 10, but the old fart didn't have any scruples. With Senior Ning Cheng supporting him, even Heaven's Master Feng Huangmei would have to give Senior Ning Cheng some face. I, Ping Cauldron Heavenly Emperor, neither steal nor rob, so why wouldn't I dare to bid against you? It was booth number 8 again, and it was competing with booth number 10 again. This time, those who wanted the soul-gathering immortal lotus could only give up. Not to mention the fact that room number 10 had already made a bid, who would be stupid enough to compete with room number 10? Moreover, it was obvious that the person in booth number 8 was a wealthy person. Competing with such a person was either a fool who had nothing better to do or had too many divine crystals. No one who could take out 1 billion divine crystals to purchase the soul-gathering immortal lotus was an ordinary person. Pa! The youth in room 10 slammed his palm on the table and said in a stern voice, "This person is clearly trying to make my Yi clan lose face. Even if I have to kill this person afterwards, I won't let him have an easy time at the auction. Brother, you mustn't go out and do anything. Before father left, he told us not to cause any trouble." The young man hurriedly advised. A man sitting beside them also said in a deep voice, "Bei Wang is right. There are many experts in the heavens beyond of heaven and earth and they usually don't come out. It's better for us not to provoke them." The young man snorted coldly. "Provoke others? Uncle Luo, you saw it too. It's clear that he's provoking me now. The Yi clan doesn't like to cause trouble and we're not afraid of it. Father won't say anything even if he comes back. If anyone can bully us, we can forget about living in the heavens beyond of heaven and earth in the future." The man who was addressed as Uncle Luo frowned slightly upon hearing this. The bidding at the auction naturally depended on one's ability. What did this have to do with provoking others? It seemed like Huang Ping had not learned the principles of the sect master and his father after his father had sent him to the immortal world for training all these years. The sect master and brother Bao had left the heavens beyond of heaven and earth for about 10 years and Huang Ping's nature had been completely exposed. Nobody had cared about him in the past, but now that he had met someone who did not give way to him, he immediately became like a pot of boiling oil. In contrast, Bei Wang seemed much more mature. "Bei Wang, bid me 1.5 billion divine crystals," the young man said with a snort when he saw that Uncle Luo did not speak again. "Brother, the person in booth number 8 is definitely a wealthy person. I think we should give this soul-gathering immortal lotus to them. Don't forget our main purpose here." "We're here to buy the breathing soil and the connate dragon ball," the young man sitting opposite him said with a slight frown instead of bidding. The young man glared at the young man and pulled him aside before he sat down. The pretty female cultivator who hosted the auction smiled. "Booth number 8 has bid 1 billion high-grade divine crystals. 1 billion high-grade divine crystals going once. If there's no higher bid than 1 billion high-grade divine crystals, this soul-gathering immortal lotus will belong to booth number 8. 1 billion high-grade divine crystals going twice." The bidding price on the monitoring screen on the auction stage suddenly jumped again. 1 billion high-grade divine crystals. The female cultivator who hosted the auction was all smiles. She had been afraid that no one would bid against booth number 10. It would be best if someone bid against it. As expected, the 1 billion divine crystals had just jumped before it was replaced by a higher bid. Booth number 8 has renewed its bid again. 5 billion divine crystals. It's an increase of 400 million divine crystals this time. This is a big move. I wonder if booth number 10 will take back the right to speak. At this time, the female cultivator who hosted the auction spoke with a hint of provocation. Booth number 10 only increased its bid by 100 million, but booth number 8 increased its bid by 400 million. Brother, the auctioneer is doing this on purpose. Don't increase the bid anymore. The young man saw the young man's angry expression and hurriedly stopped him. The young man revealed a disdainful sneer, "So what if I'm provoking? Do you think I'm afraid of a lone ghost?" As he spoke, he drew another bid. The bidding price on the screen jumped to 2 billion divine crystals. It could be said that this price had already exceeded the original price of the soul-gathering immortal lotus. The entire auction hall was excited to watch this good show. Everyone knew that booth number 10 was amazing, but they didn't know how amazing it was. Now that booth number 8 and booth number 10 were fighting, they could just watch the show. In a corner of the auction hall, a woman with a veil on her face stared coldly at booth number 10 with a hint of disdain at the corner of her mouth. "Sister, our plan has finally succeeded." Next to the woman with a veil on her face, another woman with a veil on her face said excitedly through a voice transmission. "Don't send a voice transmission. The person in booth number 8 is very strong. I was almost killed by him. We still don't know if it will succeed." The cultivation level of the woman who was addressed as sister was far stronger than her younger sister, so she was worried that there would be a problem with her younger sister's voice transmission. It was her sister who had secretly spread the news that booth number 10 was very strong and should not be provoked. After decades of accumulation, coupled with the fact that some insiders really knew that booth number 10 was very strong, the entire heavens beyond of heaven and earth knew about it. Indeed, because everyone knew that booth number 10 was very strong, very few people would compete for booth number 10 at every auction. After a long time, booth number 10 had developed an arrogant and domineering temperament. In the past, booth number 10 had always been attended by a few women. Even if they were occasionally intercepted, they did not do anything. Therefore, nothing major had happened. In the past decade, a young man had suddenly appeared in booth number 10. 6 years ago, someone had intercepted his bid and he had made a big fuss. Since then, no one had intercepted anything from booth number 10. This time, someone had intercepted his bid again. Moreover, it was an expert whom she was very wary of. She had seen this expert in the heavens beyond rest in. He had almost killed her, but he had strangely let her go easily in the end. As long as this expert fought with the person in booth number 10, even if he killed the person who came out of booth number 10, there would be a glimmer of hope for her Liu family's revenge. Booth number 10 has increased the bid by 500 million divine crystals. The price of the soul-gathering immortal lotus has already reached 2 billion high-grade divine crystals. I wondered if booth number 8, before the female cultivator hosting the auction could finish her words, the price on the bidding monitor screen had refreshed to 3 billion divine crystals. The old fart, who had reported 3 billion divine crystals without any pressure, laughed in his heart. Competing with me for divine crystals? Senior Ning gave me more than 10 billion divine crystals and a pile of materials. Could it be just for show? Just how rich did he have to be so capricious? The cultivators at the auction were completely speechless as they watched the bidding war between the two booths. Both of them were rich people, so this was not a game they could play. When the young man in booth number 10 saw booth number 8 increase the bid by 1 billion divine crystals, he was so angry that he almost wanted to rush to booth number 8 and teach that bastard who was bidding against him a lesson. After so many years in the immortal world, he, Yi Huangping, had been warmly welcomed and greeted wherever he went. Even in the mystic realm, no one had dared to disrespect him. Even in the sacred Tao world, no one had dared to disrespect him. Regardless of how big the sect master was, if they knew that he was there, they would have to open their sect to welcome him. In the beginning, his aunt had been in charge of him. After his aunt left, he had become even more carefree. Even his Tao followed his heart and never compromised or wronged himself. Now, a puny itinerant cultivator dared to embarrass him like this? He even wanted him to compromise. When he saw that the young man was going to bid again, he stopped him. Brother, you can't bid anymore. If I have the breath soil and the Khanate dragon clan, I don't care what you bid. I haven't gotten them yet, and you know how important these two things are. The young man took a deep breath and finally calmed down. He knew that he was right. He had not come here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. He glanced coldly at the outside of room 8 and retracted his murderous intent. No matter how powerful the backer of booth number 8 was, he would not let him go after this auction ended. 3 billion divine crystals going once, 3 billion divine crystals going twice. 3 billion divine crystals going thrice. Congratulations to the Taoist in booth number 8 for obtaining the soul-gathering immortal lotus again. The female cultivator hosting the auction did not dare to continue provoking them, so the interval between the calls was extremely short. If she continued to provoke them to this extent and offended the owner of booth number 10, she probably wouldn't be able to afford it. If an ordinary person had bid for the soul-gathering immortal lotus, it would have been fine. However, this old fogey had been with Chasing Bull for a long time, which had caused his mouth to turn nasty. After obtaining the soul-gathering immortal lotus, he still called out in disdain. You want to compete with me for the soul-gathering immortal lotus with just these few divine crystals? The younger generation will surpass the older, hee hee. Chapter 12:20. There was no movement from VIP booth 10, but everyone knew that VIP booth 8 was definitely courting death. This was simply adding fuel to the fire. After saying this, even Uncle Luo in VIP booth 10 snorted coldly with a hint of anger on his face. A sharp killing intent rushed out of the booth and blasted directly at VIP booth 8. It was clearly a Tao rune killing intent, but it was like a surging Yangtze River. What fell was a powerful sword intent aura. The old fogey sneered. A mere mid-stage primordial chaos cultivator dared to be arrogant in front of him. An illusory cauldron shadow rushed out of the top of the booth. Its majestic aura was like a huge pocket, ready to take away all the sword intent that filled the sky. Ning Cheng shook his head speechlessly. Did this old fogey have to be quiet? This was a critical moment, not a time for him to pick a fight with others. He still hadn't obtained the breathing soil. However, Ning Cheng soon stopped thinking about it. The old fogey had come from ancient times and naturally had his own pride. He might have addressed him as a senior because he thought that Ning Cheng was more ancient than him. If the old fogey knew that Ning Cheng was not the reincarnation of an almighty, he would not have been so submissive even if Ning Cheng's strength completely crushed the old fogey. It was impossible for such a proud fellow to not fight back when someone took the initiative to attack him. Even his last sentence was because the young man in VIP booth 10 had arrogantly pointed at him and asked him to come out. This fellow cultivated the Karma Tao, so he did not forget such trivial things. Bang! A dull sound was heard. The long sword-like sword intent and the cauldron shadow did not collide. Instead, they were directly grabbed by a big hand and dissipated without a trace. Everyone in the auction venue was horrified. This was definitely the attack of a perfected Dao integration expert. Sure enough, in the next moment, a stern voice was heard, "If the people in booth 8 and booth 10 still dare to ignore the rules of my Infinite Realm auction and start a fight here, then they will be the enemies of my Infinite Realm auction. You are never welcome to enter the Infinite Realm auction in the future." Hearing this, Uncle Luo, who was in room number 10, calmed down. Naturally, he would not attack again. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "Huang Ping, I will tell your father about what happened today." This matter was completely instigated by Yi Huangping. If it wasn't for Yi Huangping arrogantly pointing at room 8 and telling them to get out calmly, there probably wouldn't have been a fight just now. There was one more thing that he didn't mention. Not only did the Infinite Realm auction not punish room 10, but it also didn't punish room 8. It could be seen that the origin of room number 8 was not simple. The sect master had a lot of things to do now. He had stayed in the beyond of heaven and earth to stabilize his position in the sacred Tao world, not to cause trouble. Fortunately, he had come along because of the matter regarding the living soil. If he hadn't come along, with Yi Huanping's arrogant and conceited personality, it was very likely that something big would have happened. The auction venue was in an uproar. No one thought that someone would dare to make a move in the Myriad World auction. More people were in awe of the Myriad World auction. The Myriad World auction's palm seal had directly melted the two experts' attacks. However, some of the more knowledgeable people could see it even more clearly. Room 8 was the same as Room 10. Both of them had extraordinary origins. If an ordinary person had dared to cause trouble in the Myriad World auction, he would have been killed by the Myriad World auction long ago. In fact, when the people in the two private rooms caused trouble, the Infinite Realm auction house only reprimanded them a few times and let it go. On the top floor of the Myriad World auction, Shi Lin and an old man were sitting opposite each other. There was silence between the two of them, as though something had happened. After a long while, the old man said, "I'm sure that although the Tao rune strength of the cauldron shadow is far beyond that of an ordinary early-stage primordial chaos expert, it is far from being able to smash Mao Tai's arm with one punch." Just now, he had blocked the attack of the Sword River and the cauldron shadow, so he was very clear about this. Shi Lin was silent for a while before saying, "Brother Hu, Ning Cheng's strength is unquestionable. Otherwise, Feng Huangmei would not have dared to make a move and the Mao family would not have compromised with him. I reckon that even I might not be a match for him. This person is very strange and possesses the Seven Bridges divine ability. As for the cauldron shadow just now, I suspect that he deliberately concealed his strength or did it to give face to our auction." The old man frowned but could only agree with Shi Lin. Fortunately, the female cultivator hosting the auction also knew that sparks were flying between the two rooms. Thus, she hurriedly patted the wooden block. "Next, we will be bidding on a section of the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Some people might not know about the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Let me explain. The Outer Realm Fog Silk generally grows in places outside the realm where there are no heaven-earth laws and it is always moving. Therefore, this kind of treasure is very difficult to obtain. However, the function of the Outer Realm Fog Silk is something that everyone yearns for. This is a treasure that can allow a second-step Tao integration Sacred Emperor to gain insight into the third-step creation realm." Sure enough, before the female auctioneer finished speaking, the entire auction venue was filled with a roar. A third-step creation realm expert was simply an unattainable existence. They had not expected that such a treasure would be sold at this auction. This was an eye-opener. However, the sacred emperors who knew the true function of the Outer Realm Fog Silk remained calm. He did not believe that the Outer Realm Fog Silk could allow a Tao integration Sacred Emperor to gain insight into the third-step creation realm. If it really had such a terrifying effect, why would the Myriad Realm auction house take it out for auction? Therefore, the third step Creation Realm Fog Silk was definitely a cover. The beautiful female cultivator smiled and waited for everyone to quiet down before continuing. Of course, obtaining the Outer Realm Fog Silk does not mean that you can reach the third step Dao Validation Realm. The Outer Realm Fog Silk only gives you an opportunity, and this opportunity is less than 10%. This also involves your aptitude, understanding of the Great Tao and Heaven-Earth laws, as well as the Tao runes of the Great Tao produced after using the Outer Realm Fog Silk. Alright, I won't say any more. After all, the Outer Realm Fog Silk is too precious. Even my auction house cannot afford to use it. The starting price of the Outer Realm Fog Silk is 500 million high-grade divine crystals. Each increment must be no less than 10 million divine crystals. The bidding begins now. Even though the price was high, the price on the bidding monitor screen still refreshed extremely quickly. In a short time, the price had risen to 1 billion. This time, booth number 8 and booth number 10 did not make a move. The bid of 1 billion was from an ordinary booth, and the price had also slowed down by this time. Should we make a move? A middle-aged man in booth number 5 asked. If this booth opened, Ning Cheng would have recognized the few people inside. They were all from the Mao clan, including the Mao clan's patriarch, Mao Wuxiao. The Mao clan originally wanted to bid for the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus for Mao Kai, but the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus was being fought over by booth number 8 and booth number 10. The Mao clan could not afford to offend these two booths. Therefore, they could only keep their mouths shut and not bid. Mao Wuxiao pondered for a moment before saying, the Outer Realm Fog Silk does not live up to its name, but having a chance is better than not having a chance. Now that Ning Cheng and the person behind him have fallen out, it is a great thing for my Mao clan. My Mao clan has already lost 100 billion divine crystals, so why would we care about a few billion divine crystals? Let's directly bid 5 billion divine crystals. If it works, let Jinyu try. If he still can't get it, then forget it. At that moment, the price had soared to 3 billion divine crystals. Booth number 4 directly quoted the price of the Outer Realm Fog Silk as 5 billion divine crystals. As soon as 5 billion divine crystals were quoted, the price stopped immediately. Not only was the price a little high, but it was also the price quoted by booth number 4. Cultivators in heavens beyond of heaven and earth knew that the first 10 booths of the Myriad Realm auction were occupied by experts. If they wanted to compete, they would have to see if it was worth it. 5 billion divine crystals going once. 5 billion divine crystals going twice. 5 billion divine crystals going thrice. Congratulations to booth number 4 for winning the Outer Realm Fog Silk at the price of 5 billion divine crystals. Although the pretty female cultivator presiding over the auction congratulated them, she felt a little depressed. She had hoped to get billions of divine crystals for the Outer Realm Fog Silk, but in the end, it had only been 5 billion divine crystals, which was far inferior to the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus. The transaction ended quickly without any twists and turns. The female cultivator presiding over the auction took out a wooden box and placed it on the void jade plate. Before the female cultivator presiding over the auction could speak, Ning Cheng's eyes narrowed. The wooden box was wrapped in a restriction, but he still had a hunch that the item in the wooden box was the growing soil. He had not expected that the Myriad Realm auction would auction the soul-gathering Immortal Lotus and the growing soil one after another. It seemed like this was also a way to express their gratitude to him, just like the 50 million divine crystals. Whether it was the other party's apology or friendship, it was not important to Ning Cheng now. Now, he had to go all out and get this piece of growing soil. Chapter 12:21. The auction venue, which was still in an uproar over the outer world mist silk, instantly turned silent after the jade box was placed on the jade plate. Many people realized that this item was not ordinary. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction smiled and said calmly, "This auction item is not simple. It used to be one of my myriad world auction's 9 greatest treasures, breath soil." As soon as the 2 words breath soil came out, the auction venue immediately went into an uproar. Even if the soul-gathering immortal lotus had its limitations, and the true effects of the outer world mist silk were still uncertain, then breath soil was a true treasure. It was a great opportunity for anyone to obtain the breathing soil. Breath soil was the head of the primal chaos 5 soils. In fact, most people had only heard of breath soil and had never heard of the other 4 soils. As long as you had breath soil, no matter what kind of spiritual grass or treasure you cultivated, you would never fail. Breath soil condensed the essence of heaven and earth. Not only could it be used to cultivate spiritual grasses and treasures, but it also contained the mysteries of heaven and earth and endless Tao charm laws. Having the soil of breath meant that you were standing at a higher place than others. One could even say that breath soil was the true treasure of heaven and earth. The auction venue quickly quietened down, and everyone stared at the breath soil on the jade plate. Most people knew that they were not qualified to bid for the growing soil. Even so, they wanted to know which of the first 10 boxes would win the growing soil. I don't have to say anything about the preciousness of breath soil, but I believe everyone knows about it. The starting price of this breath soil is 1 billion high-grade spirit crystals, and each increase must be no less than 100 million. We accept all kinds of bartering. The female cultivator hosting the auction had just finished speaking when the price on the monitoring screen rose sharply. In just a short time, it rose to 3 billion. The price of breath soil was definitely more than 3 billion spirit crystals. However, when the price reached 3 billion spirit crystals, not many people could afford it. This price was just too high. 4 billion high-grade spirit crystals. After a pause, the price on the monitoring screen refreshed again. Everyone could clearly see that this was the bid from Booth 8. Booth 8 was definitely a rich person. From his bid, one could tell that most people were increasing the bid by 100 million. However, Booth 8 immediately increased the bid by 1 billion, showing just how rich he was. When the bid of 4 billion high-grade spirit crystals came out, the venue once again turned silent. Everyone knew that this was not the end. The bidding war for the breath soil had just begun. The breath soil was definitely worth more than 4 billion divinity crystals, but no one knew who would be competing with Booth 8. In room 10, the young man looked at the bidding screen and said, "Brother, we can make our move now." The young man who was addressed as brother, had an ugly expression on his face. He even gritted his teeth and said, "It's this number 8 again. This guy is simply too arrogant. Huang Ping, don't use divine crystals. Just use divine essence elixirs." Uncle Luo's face was also very serious. The breath soil was very important to them and they could not afford to lose it. The youth called Huang Ping took a deep breath, clenched his fists and said, "Uncle Luo, don't worry. I will definitely not let this person succeed. I will let him see how strong our Yi clan is." After saying that, he directly engraved 70 million divine essence pills on the bidding Dharma artifact. The price has been refreshed. This time, it's 70 million divine essence pills. That's 7 billion divine crystals, someone exclaimed. It's booth number 10. It's going to be interesting this time. There were many discussions in the auction hall. By this time, some cultivators who couldn't bid for the breath soil had already come to watch the show. This kind of exciting competition was even more exciting than the auction itself. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. This wasn't a good thing for him. Ning Cheng also knew about divine essence pills. Few people would take them out for trading. Divine essence pills were purified from spirit veins, just like the permanent essence pills in the starry sky. Divine essence pills were better than high-grade divine crystals in that they were easier to absorb. Because they weren't refined using medicinal herbs, they didn't contain pill toxins. More importantly, divine essence pills contained a trace of law aura, which would help cultivators gain enlightenment. A divine essence pill was equivalent to 100 high-grade divine crystals. Since booth number 10 bid 70 million divine essence pills, it was 7 billion high-grade divine crystals. Even the old fogey found it a bit difficult. He only had about 10 billion divine crystals on him. This booth number 10 didn't have an ordinary background. He even bid 70 million divine essence pills in one go. 70 million divine essence pills made even Ning Qing envious. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction showed a smile and spoke slowly. Booth number 10 bid 70 million divine essence pills, which is equivalent to 7 billion spirit crystals. Is there any higher price than this? As soon as he said that, the price on the bidding screen refreshed again. The price was 8 billion divine crystals and 10 supreme-grade divine spiritual veins. Top-grade spirit veins were different from high-grade divine crystals. Few people used them for cultivation. Most people used them to decorate caves. Because a complete top-grade spirit vein would have a complete law aura. It was a waste to use it for cultivation alone. Even if one wanted to use a top-grade spirit vein for cultivation, one would have to first arrange a spiritual gathering grand array. To everyone's surprise, this bid didn't come from booth number 8, but from an ordinary booth. Booth number 133 on the second floor. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction didn't seem surprised by this and called out again. Booth 133 on the second floor bids 8 billion spirit crystals and 10 top-grade spirit veins. The price has been refreshed once again. Is there any higher bid than this? The old fogey knew that his bid was just to help Ning Qing divert his attention. He didn't expect that there would be someone else besides booth number 10 who desired the breath soil so much. Ning Qing hadn't made a move yet, which made the old fogey hesitant to continue increasing the price. He didn't worry about increasing the price to the point where he couldn't afford it. He felt sure that as long as he increased the price to the point where he couldn't afford it, Ning Qing would take it over. While the old fogey struggled, the youth in booth number 10 grew even angrier. It seemed that he was right. If there was one, there would be two. After booth number 8 competed with booth number 10, even an ordinary booth dared to compete with booth number 10. 150 million divine essence pills, 20 supreme-grade divine spiritual meridians, and 2 glazed light fruits. The young man reported almost everything he could take out. The youth next to him frowned slightly and said, "Brother, if you bid like this, what are we going to use to compete for the innate Dragon Ball?" The youth froze for a moment before coming to his senses. They came here today not only to bid for the breath soil but also the innate Dragon Ball. Without waiting for the youth to speak, Uncle Luo shook his head and said, "Bei Wang, there's no hope for the innate Dragon Ball. Looking at today's trend, even if Huang Ping's bid just now, we might not be able to win the breath soil. The competition for the breath soil has far exceeded our previous expectations." As soon as this bid was made, the auction hall was completely stirred up. The 2 glazed light fruits alone were enough to make countless people jealous, let alone the 150 million spirit essence pills and the 20 top-grade spirit veins. The glazed light fruit was a pure Tao law fruit that could allow one to comprehend all kinds of laws in the universe, including the time law and space law. Ordinary Tao modeling divine emperors had a preliminary understanding of the time law and space law and could even use it to fuse with their divine abilities. However, it was very difficult to truly control the time law or space law or take a deeper step to comprehend these things. Once one's understanding of the Tao law was insufficient, they would need to find other opportunities. The glazed light fruit was such a pure Tao law fruit. More people looked at booth number 8. Since booth number 10's bid was so terrifying, they wondered what earth-shattering price booth number 8 would offer in order to compete for the breath soil. Moreover, it was not the first time booth number 8 and booth number 10 were competing, so this competition was even more interesting. Even Shi Lin and the other Dao integration stage cultivator in the top floor private room were looking toward private room number 8. The Infinite Realm auction did not take out the breath soil to exchange for some divine essence pills and the 2 glazed light fruits. It was for the black-yellow chi with the aura of the origin, chaotic chi, and even the essence of the universe. If it was not to expand the Infinite Realm auction's influence and to divert the source of the essence of the universe, the Infinite Realm auction would not have taken out the breath soil to auction. Of course, there was another reason. The Infinite Realm auction wanted to see if something more precious than the essence of the universe would appear in the auction. However, nothing more precious than the quintessential essence of the universe or the 5-element chaos chi had appeared during the auction of the growing soil. If it was purely for divine crystals, the Infinite Realm auction would not take out the breath soil no matter how many divine crystals there were. Shi Lin was not in a hurry, as he could see that Ning Qing really wanted the breath soil. He believed that after the bid from booth number 10 came out, booth number 8 would go all out. The pretty female cultivator hosting the auction said with a smile, "Booth number 10 is really generous." Not only did he take out 150 million divine essence pills, but he also took out 20 supreme-grade divine spirit meridians and even took out 2 glazed light fruits. I wonder if there will be a higher bid. If there is no higher bid, then this breath soil will belong to booth number 10. The pretty female cultivator was not disappointed. After she finished speaking, the price on the bidding monitoring screen refreshed immediately. A new bid appeared on the bidding screen. 30 billion high-grade divine crystals, 30 supreme-grade divine spirit meridians, and a bottle of Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill refined from the Heaven Essence fruit. The Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill also states that it can allow a first-step Tao validation Sacred Emperor to directly comprehend the second-step Tao validation. The bid itself was terrifying enough. What was even more shocking was that the bid did not come from a booth, but from an ordinary seat at the bottom of the auction hall. Hall 3, row 237, seat 105. If it were not for the bidding screen clearly showing the location of this seat, no one would have known where it was. After Ning Qing made the bid, he felt a little unhappy. He knew that the Infinite Realm auction had done this on purpose. Otherwise, no one would have known which seat had made the bid. Chapter 12:22. Can the Heaven Essence fruit be used for alchemy? Yeah, I've heard of the Heavenly Heaven pill, but isn't the Heavenly Heaven fruit unable to be added into the pill? Who said that the Heaven Essence fruit can't be added into the elixir? It was only because the conditions to enter the pill were more stringent. Because the Heaven Essence Heavenly Pill contains the second step Heaven-Earth law, it must be refined in a realm with complete laws. When Ning Cheng's offer came out, in addition to shock, there were even more discussions. No matter what kind of discussion it was, it did not affect the fact that Ning Cheng's offer far exceeded the offer from booth 10. Hall C, ground floor, row 237, number 105 offers 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 peak-grade God spiritual veins, and a bottle of Heavenly Pill. Is there a higher offer than this? If there is no higher bid, then the growing soil treasure will be taken by this fellow Taoist. Although the pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction still called out the price in a crisp voice, her voice no longer had the same joy as before. In fact, it even felt as if she was deliberately stalling for time. No matter how long she dragged it out, no one would bid for it within the allotted time, and she would still have to announce her bid: 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 supreme-grade God spiritual veins, and a bottle of Heavenly Heaven Pill. Shi Lin, who was sitting in a box at the top of the auction hall, had a slight change in his expression. He suddenly stood up and shouted, "What is number 8 up to? Why didn't he bid? Hurry up and call the people from our auction house to bid, otherwise." Shi Lin's words suddenly came to a halt. The worry on his face had also dissipated a little, because he had seen the bid from booth number 8. After every private room made a bid, the red light in front of the room would flash 3 times. You don't have to worry about it. Since that Ning Cheng is so eager for the breath soil, then he would definitely bid for it. If we're not satisfied with his offer, we can increase the price. Seeing Shi Lin sit down, the old man opposite him laughed and said, 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 supreme-grade God spiritual veins, and 1 bottle of heavenly essence pill. The pretty female cultivator presiding over the auction spoke with a dry voice. The current price was still far from the bottom line of the Myriad Worlds auction. But no one was bidding, so she had no choice but to continue. The reason why the Myriad Realm auction could be so big was to let everyone understand that the Myriad Realm auction was fair. Of course, even if he was faking it, he wouldn't let others know. If she openly paused to report, it would be too obvious that she was lying. She was wondering why the Myriad World auction house wasn't bidding at this time. Could it be that Hall C, row 237, room 105 was arranged by the Infinite Worlds auction house? She was a little uncertain. Something wasn't right. Why was the bid displayed on the bidding monitor screen still the same as room 8, row 237, room 105 at the bottom of the 3rd hall? Shi Lin stood up once again. At the same time, he instantly understood what was going on. Room 8 had made a bid, but the bid was lower than the bid for room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor. Therefore, it was unable to surpass the previous bid. In other words, when the Infinite Circles Commerce Hall wanted to quote a price, booth number 8 gave a false price. Hurry up and let the auction house bid, hurry. Just as Shi Lin's words spread out, the female cultivator hosting the auction had already reported 30 billion high-grade God crystals, 30 peak-grade God spiritual veins, a bottle of Heaven Yuan heavenly pill going thrice. Congratulations, number 105, row 237, 3rd hall, 3rd floor, for winning the soil of breath. Shi Lin sat down dispiritedly. He knew that he had been tricked. He wanted the Infinite Circles auction to take advantage of him. When he schemed against Ning Cheng must have also schemed against the Infinite Circles auction. He was even sure that room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor had a relationship with room 8. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such tacit understanding. He swore that after this auction, he would remove the flashing red light. The old man sitting across from Shi Lin also understood what was going on. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Someone actually dared to scheme against the Infinite Circles auction. Manager Shi, as long as that Ning Cheng wants the innate Dragon Ball, he will spit out everything he swallowed. The old man glanced at Shi Lin and said with a frown. Shi Lin nodded, that's the only way. My Infinite Circles auction's soil of breath isn't that easy to obtain. After saying that, he immediately sent out several messages, asking people to keep an eye on room 105 in row 237 of hall 3 on the ground floor. In any case, he would never let such a situation happen to the innate Dragon Ball. When Ning Cheng grabbed the jade box, he knew that it was indeed soil of breath. He was also pleasantly surprised. He never thought that he would get the soil of breath at this price. He thought that the auction house would take the initiative to increase the price until he came up with a price that satisfied the auction house. This satisfactory price naturally included the primal chaos chi and the true essence of the universe. He didn't expect that when the female cultivator presiding over the auction started to call out, the auction house wouldn't find anyone to increase the price. This made him feel that this was an opportunity. He didn't hesitate to send a spiritual sense message to the old fogey and let the old fogey quote a price. However, this price had to be lower than his original price. As long as people knew that he had made a bid, it would be fine. Ning Cheng didn't think that it would work. If it didn't work, he would continue to increase the price. Ning Cheng didn't expect it to work. It was a pleasant surprise. Ning Cheng happily put away the soil of breath. He didn't think that the auction would be fair, and that it would belong to whoever won it. It was most likely that his plan had succeeded, causing the old fogey to call out a price that affected the auction house's judgment, allowing him to pick up a bargain. Ning Cheng also understood that although the soil of breath was cheap, the innate Dragon Ball wouldn't have such a bargain. For him, the innate Dragon Ball was just a convenient auction. It didn't matter if he couldn't get it. The most important thing was the soil of breath. Now that he had obtained the soil of breath and the soul-gathering immortal lotus, he had basically completed his task in this auction. Uncle Luo. The young man in booth 10, on seeing the successful transaction of the soil of breath from a cultivator sitting in an ordinary seat on the lower floor, immediately released his spiritual consciousness towards Ning Cheng's seat and called out. The man addressed as Uncle Luo's face sank, "Huang Ping, you can use other methods to trade for the soil of breath from the other party. If you use a forceful method, not to mention the sect master and your father, even I, Luo Qinghe, would not let you off." The young man's face also turned ugly. "Uncle Luo, we cultivators are originally defying the heavens. We have too many scruples. How could there be so many things in the world waiting to be delivered to us? Of course, I would first use some top-quality treasures to exchange with him. Only in case he doesn't agree to it, then I would use force." He felt a bit disdainful of Uncle Luo's fearful personality. If it weren't for his good luck, he wouldn't have been able to reach this point in the starry skies where only the strong were respected. Uncle Luo gave a cold snort and didn't speak again. After the auction of the soil of breath, the enthusiasm of the venue weakened a lot. Although many treasures appeared later, none of them could compare to the soul-gathering immortal lotus or the soil of breath. 3 days passed by in a flash, and the auction was already halfway through. Ning Cheng, who had been anxious for a long time, finally heard the sound of the innate dragon pearl. The pretty-looking female cultivator presiding over the auction placed a jade box on a jade plate. "Fellow Taoists, just like the soil of breath from before, this innate dragon pearl is also a treasure of my myriad circles commerce hall. The base price of this innate dragon pearl is 1 billion spirit crystals, and each bid must be at least 100 million spirit crystals. The bidding starts now." The young man in booth 10 was just about to bid when he saw the auction's bidding monitor. Someone had already made an offer, and the price he offered far exceeded his current net worth: 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits. This price not only stunned the young man in booth 10, but even Ning Cheng felt shocked. Even he couldn't offer such a price. He would never take out so many things for an innate dragon pearl. Even he didn't have the primordial rainbow glow fruit. It was a Tao fruit that could help Tao Essence Holy Emperors advance to primordial chaos realm. Excluding the fact that this bid didn't have any top-quality treasures like the essence of the universe, it really wasn't low in terms of value. The entire auction hall was stunned by this bid. This was the first time someone offered such a high price. Was this to prevent others from participating in the auction? Ning Cheng didn't participate in the bidding. This price was too high for him. With the soil of breath in hand, he would never take out a treasure like the essence of the universe to bid for the innate dragon pearl. The female cultivator presiding over the auction also felt shocked by this price. After a while, she realized that the price hadn't changed. She had to say, "Booth 324 on the bottom floor bids 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits." Shi Lin looked at the motionless bidding screen with a gloomy face. Before the female cultivator presiding over the auction could finish her sentence, he took out a communication bead and said, "Bid with all your strength. Take back the innate dragon pearl. We won't be bidding for this innate dragon pearl." Booth 8 hadn't moved yet. Apparently, it didn't intend to bid for the innate dragon pearl. The myriad world auction had been hunting geese all day, but today, the geese pecked his eyes: 100 billion god crystals, 200 supreme-grade god spiritual veins, and a sun eclipse treasure eye pearl. The bidding screen finally refreshed, and this price caused an uproar once again. It wasn't normal for the innate dragon pearl to be bid 50 billion spirit crystals, 100 top-quality spirit veins, and 3 primordial rainbow glow fruits. The second bid was even more abnormal. It was more than double the original bid. Just the value of 1 eclipse treasure pupil was immeasurable, not to mention 100 billion spirit crystals and 200 top-quality spirit veins. However, it wasn't surprising for someone to behave abnormally the second time. Most people just felt that the innate dragon pearl was precious and wanted to snatch it. Ning Qing sighed. He knew that if he wanted the innate dragon pearl, he would have to go to the Myriad World Auction. With such a move, the Myriad World Auction definitely knew that he didn't intend to bid and decided to take it back. The fellow who bid 50 billion spirit crystals and 100 top-quality spirit veins would be disappointed. 100 billion spirit crystals, 200 top-quality spirit veins, and 1 eclipse treasure pupil. Is there any higher bid than this? The female cultivator presiding over the auction hadn't finished speaking when Ning Qing felt a water-attributed law fluctuation in the space. This law aura extended from booth 324 to the auction stage in almost a blink of an eye. Not good, someone wants to snatch the innate dragon pearl. Just as Ning Qing thought of this, he saw a water ripple appear on the auction stage in a flash. Madman, how dare you! Almost at the same time as this water ripple wrapped around the innate dragon pearl, several shouts came from all directions. The entire auction venue went berserk, and all kinds of Dao charm auras and law power filled this space. Chapter 1223. Return to the inn immediately. Ning Qing sent a spiritual force message to the old fogey and opened the restriction. Ning Qing was sure that under such circumstances, the Myriad Realm auction would not be able to suppress the situation unless there was a creation realm expert here. Once they couldn't suppress it, the auction would end prematurely. For them, it was best to leave as soon as possible. Ning Qing didn't know if the Myriad Realm auction had a third-step creation realm expert, but he was sure that there was no creation realm expert at the Myriad Realm auction. If there was, they would not have waited for that person to rush to the auction stage with his water-attributed nomological spirit power. Even Ning Qing had sensed the spatial ripple. How could a creation realm expert be so weak? Boom! The water ripple blasted the restriction supporting the array, which directly blasted open a gap. The next moment, the jade box in the gap was swept away by the water ripple. Ning Qing saw it clearly and couldn't help but exclaim in his heart that it was a good thing. Even he couldn't blast open the restriction supporting the array in a short time. The reason why the water ripple blasted open the restriction supporting the array and snatched the jade box so quickly was that the water ripple contained a top-notch crack talisman. The value of this talisman alone was probably not low. As long as one had this talisman, even if one was trapped in a powerful restriction, they would have a chance to tear the restriction and escape. Now that this person had used this precious crack talisman in his water ripple to snatch the jade box, it showed how much he wanted the connate dragon pearl. Bang! 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 At the same time, several experts from the Myriad Realm auction attacked the mysterious expert who had used the water ripple and crack talisman. Dao runes exploded, and the laws collapsed. The violent aura directly blasted the auction stage into nothingness. The power of the Dao runes spread out, and even the Myriad Realm auction's auction house cracked. As Ning Qing expected, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators participating in the Myriad Realm auction fled. No one wanted to stay in the auction under the attack of such an expert. The old fogey's escape technique was top-notch. After Ning Qing sent him a message, he immediately rushed out of the auction house. As for Ning Qing, he had just opened the restriction when a dozen figures rushed over. None of these figures were weak, and the weakest one was at the mid-stage primordial chaos realm. Ning Qing sneered, these people really wanted to fish in troubled waters, and had already set their eyes on him. On the surface, his cultivation level was only at the primordial Dao realm. Furthermore, his simulated cultivation level was completely integrated with the surrounding Dao rune laws. In such a short time, not many people could see through it. He couldn't see through Ning Cheng's true strength. Almost none of the primordial chaos experts attacking him used any great spiritual power. All of them wanted to capture Ning Cheng and escape in the shortest time possible. At this time, Ning Cheng would not show any mercy. The breath soil was a good thing, but if one wanted to snatch it, one would have to pay a price. All the people who attacked him were instantly trapped in a frozen space. Several late-stage primordial chaos experts understood what was going on almost as soon as Ning Cheng's icebound space formed. Ning Cheng concealed his cultivation. The Dao charm laws of this space-sealing spirit technique weren't something a Dao essence holy emperor could cast. Even late-stage primordial chaos experts might not necessarily be able to conjure such a stable nomological ice-sealed space. Several primordial chaos experts understood that Ning Cheng had concealed his cultivation level and immediately began to retreat. Since he had already made a move, how could Ning Cheng allow the other party to retreat? Since he had chosen to rob them, he had to pay the price. At that moment, his dark consciousness blasted out completely. Be it the primordial chaos sacred emperors in the middle of Ning Cheng's icebound space or the primordial chaos sacred emperors who had torn Ning Cheng's icebound space apart, they felt their extended spiritual senses being completely devoured when Ning Cheng's dark consciousness blasted out. Several primordial chaos sacred emperors with slightly weaker cultivation levels couldn't resist the backlash of the dark consciousness blast at all. Their spiritual seas were directly torn apart and collapsed. Pft. 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 Several blood arrows sprayed in the cracked icebound space. Several primordial chaos experts whose spiritual seas had been destroyed fell from the void. Before they could land on the ground, Ning Cheng had already swept away their rings. Bam! 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 By the time these primordial chaos sacred emperors landed on the ground, Ning Cheng had already disappeared from the venue of the Myriad Realm auction. The late-stage primordial chaos experts whose spiritual seas had been seriously injured and had escaped were horrified. If they had been half a step slower, that terrifying divine power that had torn apart their spiritual seas would have swept them all in. At that moment, they felt horrified just staying there for a while, let alone finding out who had injured them. The cultivators who had wanted to rob Ning Cheng but were a step behind turned around and fled without thinking when they saw such a terrifying scene. Would they be waiting for death if they didn't flee? How could a person who had killed several primordial chaos sacred emperors while being besieged by more than 10 primordial chaos sacred emperors be simple? This was either a top-notch perfected primordial chaos expert or a Dao integration expert. Robbing a Dao integration expert was simply courting death. The entire auction venue was in chaos. The Myriad Realm auction had already collapsed due to the attacks of the Dao integration experts. The surrounding restrictions exploded one after another, and none of the buildings near the Myriad Realm auction survived. Everyone in the auction venue fled one after another. No one was willing to stay. Ning Cheng didn't stay either. His spiritual force scanned the 4 people who were fighting. A man wrapped in water vapor was besieged by 3 other Dao integration experts. Even though the 3 Dao integration experts of the Myriad Realm auction had the upper hand, the man with thick water vapor did not seem to be going all out. Sure enough, as soon as Ning Cheng scanned this area, the man with water vapor once again took out a talisman that escaped from the surrounding crisscrossing Dao runes and disappeared. Ning Cheng didn't care about this matter anymore, as it had nothing to do with him. He returned to the inn as fast as he could. Ning Cheng believed that even if the man with water vapor escaped, he probably wouldn't be able to escape from heavens beyond immediately. Ning Cheng had seen the defense array of heaven and earth's beyond before. They were extremely powerful. Ordinary talismans really couldn't be torn apart. "Senior, you're back." The old man had already returned to the Western Domain Spatial Inn and restored his original appearance. When he saw Ning Cheng return, he immediately handed a ring to Ning Cheng. "Inside are the things you want, Senior." Ning Cheng also removed his disguise, took out a jade bottle, and placed it in the old man's hand. Well done. This is a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. As for how much you can recover, it depends on your own ability. The old man excitedly held the jade bottle and secretly rejoiced that he had followed Senior Ning on the right path. Without the quintessential essence of the universe, it would have been difficult for him to recover to the early stage Tao integration realm without a few thousand years. That was if he could find top-notch heaven-earth treasures. Previously, Ning Cheng had let Chasing Bull and Mu Yueping enter the quintessential world just in case. Now that there was another possibility, he simply called them out again. Big Brother Ning, have we left heavens beyond? Mu Yueping asked as soon as she came out. However, she quickly understood and asked in confusion, is this still the Western Domain Spatial Inn? Ning Cheng nodded and said, I'm afraid we'll have to stay in heavens beyond for a while. Junior Sister Yueping, go and cultivate. I just obtained the soul-gathering immortal lotus, so I'm going to help Brother Jiang reshape his body now. Ning Cheng had originally planned to leave heavens beyond immediately after bidding for the item. However, it was almost impossible for him to leave heavens beyond safely now that something had happened to the Myriad Realm auction. If he wanted to leave heavens beyond by force, he would only be in conflict with the Myriad Realm auction. Yes, Big Brother Ning. Mu Yueping's eyes were slightly red. At that moment, she felt that Brother Man had made the right decision. Big Brother Ning valued friendship and righteousness. Ever since he had found out about Brother Man's accident, he had been helping and had not disappointed her and Brother Man. It would be completely superfluous to thank him for such kindness. The old man grabbed the jade bottle and wished he could immediately enter seclusion to restore his strength. However, Mu Yueping was speaking, so he could not interrupt her. Now that Mu Yueping had finished speaking, he was about to say goodbye to Ning Cheng and enter seclusion when the restriction at the door was triggered. Chasing Bull, which had become a lot more well-behaved recently, hurriedly opened the restriction. It had made up its mind to become more active and diligent while constantly improving its cultivation level. Sister Yueping had told it all this, so it had to listen. 3 men stood at the door, and the one in front was a young man. The young man's eyes were a little erratic, with a trace of disdain in them. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, showing a kind of pride. In fact, this young man's cultivation was only at the early stage eternal realm. In Ning Cheng's eyes, he was almost no different from an ant. Ning Cheng had seen this young man before. He was in booth 10 at the auction house. Previously, because the old man had bid against him, he had pushed open the booth in anger. However, the auction house's people had stopped him. With the Myriad Realm auction house's patience with him, Ning Cheng understood that this fellow's background was not small. Behind the young man was a sword-like man with middle-stage primordial chaos cultivation. Standing here, he looked like a peerless spirit sword, with a strong sword intent and Tao charm. Ning Cheng secretly praised this man in his heart. This man was definitely an upright and selfless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a vast and sharp sword aura. Behind these 2 people, there was a young man with delicate features. Were you in booth 8 before? The young man's gaze fell on Ning Cheng and spoke with a hint of coldness. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. He was also a primordial chaos expert. This young man was a starry sky cultivator in the eternal realm, yet he spoke in such a condescending tone. Compared to this young man, Mao Yi, whom he had killed before, was an honest fellow. When the old man heard that this young man dared to be rude to Ning Cheng, his eyes immediately lit up with murderous intent. If it weren't for fear of causing trouble for Ning Cheng, he would have already slapped this ant to death. Chasing Bull had been checking its master's face. Seeing Ning Cheng frown, Chasing Bull immediately raised its hoof. Where did this hairless little thing come from? Get the hell out of here for this Grandpa Bull. This is not a place for you to act wildly. A caterpillar without even a Tao dares to fart. The young man became angry. a beast dared to be rude to him. With a wave of his hand, a thick purple blade appeared in his hand. Ning Cheng's face turned cold when he saw that the other party dared to use a weapon in his place. Chapter 12:24. Stop. Before the young man could attack Chasing Bull, the sword-like man standing behind the young man grabbed the young man's purple saber. Uncle Luo, a beast dared to be rude to me. Why don't you kill him? The young man looked angry. The man called Uncle Luo moved his hand slightly and pulled the young man to the back. Then, he cupped his fists and said to Ning Cheng, Daoist, I'm Luo Qinghe. I'm quite famous in heavens beyond. Ning Cheng knew why Luo Qinghe had come. If Luo Qinghe had come alone, he would have been interested in answering a few questions. However, Luo Qinghe was obviously the helper of this fool who thought that he was the master of the universe. Ning Cheng had no interest in answering and said to the old fogey, You answer him. Luo Qinghe was not surprised by Ning Cheng's words. Although he thought that Ning Cheng had come from Booth 8, the old fogey was slightly older and had a slightly stronger cultivation level. Therefore, the old fogey should be the leader. Seeing Luo Qinghe look over, the old fogey sneered, I know you're famous. Otherwise, how could you occupy booth 10? However, we don't welcome you here. Please leave. How could the old fogey not know what Luo Qinghe and the others were here for? They were definitely here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. Senior Ning Cheng had given the soul-gathering immortal lotus to Jiang Man to sculpt his body, so it was impossible for him to give it to others. Senior Luo Qinghe had asked him to answer and refuse. Daoist friend, please wait. I'm indeed here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus. This immortal lotus is very important to us. Daoist friend, please name a price. As long as it's not too outrageous, we can come up with it. Luo Qinghe tried to speak in a slow tone. Upon hearing that the other party was here for the soul-gathering immortal lotus, Mu Yueping's eyes suddenly turned hostile and even contained a hint of anger. The soul-gathering immortal lotus was for Jiang Man to sculpt his body, so how could he give it away? Sorry, the soul-gathering immortal lotus is also very useful to us. I don't have time to talk to you now. If you don't leave, I won't be so polite. The old fogey's patience had run out. He was anxious to use the quintessential essence of the universe to advance, so he was not in the mood to talk here. Uncle Luo, what cultivation level are these people? The young man clenched his fists and sent a voice transmission. Since when had anyone dared to be so rude to him? Luo Qinghe did not send a voice transmission. Instead, he said faintly, 2 early-stage primordial chaos and 1 Dao birth. He directly ignored Chasing Bull. Luo Qinghe was a mid-stage primordial chaos expert who was about to become a late-stage primordial chaos expert. Furthermore, his sword Dao law was about to form a system, so he did not really care about the 2 early-stage primordial chaos experts. Previously at the Myriad Realms auction, he and the old fart were just not used to bullying the weak. He had already experienced the feeling of being bullied. After all, he was the deputy sect master of a sect with a great reputation in the beyond of heaven and earth. He was indeed a little angry that he was not even allowed to enter when he came to visit a few outsiders. The young man obviously did not have this kind of awareness. After learning that the 2 of them were early-stage primordial chaos experts, the arrogance on his face became even stronger. You must have just arrived at heavens beyond. There are some things that you can't do as you please. Take out the soul-gathering immortal lotus and I'll sell it to you at the market price. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. After saying that, the young man suddenly looked at Mu Yueping and said in an even colder tone, Do you know why there are so many dual cultivation buildings in the beyond of heaven and earth? It's because too many people don't know how to appreciate favors, and their women go to the dual cultivation buildings. Get lost. Ning Cheng's eyes turned cold, and he was no longer in the mood to listen. If Luo Qinghe had not cultivated the righteous sword Dao and was not someone he admired, he would have slapped the young man to death. When Chasing Bull heard its master's anger, it raised its hooves and said, "Get lost, caterpillar. If you dare to fart here again, I'll trample you to death. You have a death wish." The young man stepped aside and slashed at Chasing Bull with the purple thick saber in his hand with a purple flare. He was sure that Uncle Luo would help him block anyone who tried to stop him. Ning Cheng was stronger than him, so he could only let Uncle Luo teach him a lesson. Chasing Bull was a beast, yet it dared to ask him to get lost. When had Yi Huangping ever suffered such humiliation? He would kill him first. Ning Cheng did not move. The old fart standing next to Chasing Bull chuckled and slapped him. A horrifying Dao charm aura enveloped the entire space in an instant. The young man's purple thick saber could no longer move forward, and a deathly oppressive aura surged over. The young man's eyes widened in horror, and his mouth opened wide. He could not move at all. Luo Qinghe's eyes turned cold, and he stepped forward to attack the old fart. But just as he took a step forward, he felt an even more powerful Dao charm aura blasting over. The overwhelming heaven and earth laws had completely bound him, a middle-stage primordial chaos cultivator, to the point that he couldn't move at all. Before Luo Qinghe could activate his Dao rune power, a cold voice was heard, "If it wasn't for the fact that you could cultivate such a sharp and upright sword qi, I would have slapped you to death today. Get lost." Luo Qinghe felt a horrifying force slamming into his chest, and he instantly flew backwards. Bang! Luo Qinghe slammed into the rest stops restriction and spat out a mouthful of blood. Before he could sit up, another black shadow slammed into him. "Uncle Luo, brother." When the young man standing at the back saw the two of them being blasted to the ground at the same time, he rushed forward in panic and helped them up. The young man's face was pale, and he kept vomiting blood as he shouted in panic, "My spiritual sea and purple palace are gone." The old fart slap had not killed him. Instead, he had directly destroyed his cultivation and made it difficult for him to recover. The old fart had shown mercy because he did not want to cause too much trouble for Ning Cheng. After all, they were still in heavens beyond and the other party had occupied booth number 10, which looked very impressive. According to the old fart standards, this slap would have destroyed the young man's bones. Luo Qinghe wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. He knew that Ning Cheng was right. This was a complete mercy. If he hadn't been merciful, he would have been killed by the other party just now. This was not early-stage primordial chaos. This was definitely an expert who surpassed ordinary Dao integration experts. In the sect, apart from the sect master, no one could be this person's match. "Uncle Luo, I want to kill him. I want to kill all these people." The young man, who was almost crazy, was completely incoherent. He had such a great future, where he would be respected wherever he went. However, his cultivation had been destroyed. Until now, he still could not believe it. Luo Qinghe stood up and slapped the young man's face. Then, he said in a cold tone, "I knew that one day, you would cause trouble." After saying that, he cupped his fists before Ning Cheng and said, "Thank you for showing mercy, but I will report what happened today truthfully. I don't know if anyone is looking for you." Ning Cheng said coldly, "This is the first time. If there is a second time, no one will leave my place alive. You guys can get lost." He could show mercy once, but it did not mean that he could show mercy a second time. If the sacred Dao sect dared to come and talk again, they could not blame him for killing them. Luo Qinghe grabbed Yi Huangping, who was still shouting, and was about to leave when he suddenly heard a voice, "Dao friend Ning, I wonder who made you so angry." When Luo Qinghe saw the person, he quickly put a fist on his chest and greeted, "Luo Qinghe greets Dao friend Shi and Dao friend Nu." He knew both of them. They were the two top-notch experts of the Myriad Realm auction, Manager Shi and First Protector Nu Hu. What shocked him the most was Shi Lin's attitude towards the young man in front of him. So it's Dao friend Luo. Nice to meet you. Shi Lin smiled as if he did not see Yi Huangping, who had been destroyed in Luo Qinghe's hands. Ning Qing cupped his fists and said politely, so it's manager Shi. It's a pity that something happened in the Myriad Realm auction today. I wonder what the outcome is. Shi Lin sighed, it's a long story. My Myriad Realm auction has a few things to discuss with Dao friend Ning. I wonder if it will delay Dao friend's time. Ning Qing smiled, since I have nothing to do, please come in. Luo Qinghe's heart sank. Ning Cheng's origin was indeed extraordinary. If the sect master did not come forward, Huang Ping's revenge would never be avenged in this life. At this moment, he could only leave with cupped fists. As for revenge, he would wait for the sect master to return. It was wrong for Huang Ping to be arrogant, but crippling Yi family's Yi Huangping in the heavens beyond was definitely not a trivial matter. Dao friend Ning is really bold to directly cripple Yi family's Yi Huangping. After entering the room, Shi Lin's first words were about the young man who had been crippled by the old fart. Ning Qing said faintly, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If they offend me, let alone cripple them, even if I kill them, that's it. Shi Lin clapped his hands and shouted, good, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Good, good, good. This is also the reason why I admire Dao friend Ning. After Shi Lin praised him, he pointed to the old man beside him and said to Ning Cheng, Dao friend Ning, let me introduce you. This is the Myriad Realm Auction's first guardian elder, Nu Hu. Ning Cheng gestured for the old fart and Mu Yueping to go into seclusion. Then, he took out the Heavenly Union Star Dune, filled a cup for Shi Lin and Nu Hu. Then, he said, Dao friend Shi and Dao friend Nu who have come to my place despite being so busy. I wonder what advice you have for me. If you need me to help, I will definitely lend you a hand. Shi Lin sighed again. Even if the Khanate Dragon Ball was snatched away, the person who snatched it would not be able to leave the heavens beyond for the time being. I'm not worried about this. What I regret is that Dao friend Ning did not obtain the breath soil. Sigh. As Shi Lin spoke, he kept looking at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng also sighed. Dao friend Shi, you can't be blamed for this. Actually, I made a mistake in bidding, and I still regret it until now. During the second call, I bid 100 billion spirit crystals. In the end, I accidentally lost it to 10 billion spirit crystals. Just when I thought that no one would bid higher than me, I heard the third call. Sigh. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Shi Lin and Nu Hu looked at each other. Did they really misunderstand Ning Cheng? Previously, when the red light flashed, it was Ning Cheng who made the bid. Did he make a mistake? However, Shi Lin quickly put this thought aside. What was Ning Cheng's cultivation? How could he make a mistake in bidding? That was absolutely impossible. Chapter 1225. Dao friend Ning, with such a thing happening to the Myriad World Auction, I shouldn't have the time to come here. It's just that my Myriad World Auction suffered losses this time. Besides asking for Dao friend Ning's help, there's no other way. Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng didn't want to admit it, so he didn't mention it. In any case, he believed that Ning Cheng had 99% of the breath soil. Ning Cheng understood Shi Lin's meaning and spoke up calmly, it's not that I don't want to help manager Shi, but I can't do anything about it. Nu Hu frowned and spoke up loudly, Dao friend Ning, you know why we came here today. Let's not beat around the bush. Dao friend Ning also knows why the Myriad World Auction's auction was brought forward. Now that the Myriad World Auction has lost the breath soil and the Xiantian Dragon Bead, coupled with the destruction of the Myriad World Auction's building. If we can't build the auction building as soon as possible and take out treasures of the same level, I'm afraid that the reputation of my Myriad World Auction will plummet. Ning Cheng understood the other party's meaning. That is, our auction house took out the breath soil and the Xiantian Dragon Bead because you wanted them. Therefore, you, Ning Cheng, also bear some responsibility for this matter. Ning Cheng spoke up calmly, alas, it's a pity. If we had traded these two things before, this wouldn't have happened. Shi Lin also understood Ning Cheng's meaning. That is, your myriad world auction wanted to take advantage of Ning Cheng and put all your hatred on me. You didn't want to exchange the treasures with me in advance. Now that something has happened, you want to ask me for my things again. How could there be such a good thing in this world? It wasn't the first or second day of dealing with Ning Cheng. Shi Lin knew that Ning Cheng was a difficult person to deal with. If it weren't for Feng Huang Mei, the Mao clan would have ended up in dire straits. He cupped his fists and said, Dao friend Ning, my myriad world auction will soon rebuild the auction venue. Because of the lack of the breath soil and the Xiantian dragon bead, my myriad world auction is willing to purchase some of the essence of the universe and some chaos chi from Dao friend Ning. This loss has nothing to do with Dao friend Ning, so if Dao friend Ning takes out your things, my myriad world auction will not let Dao friend Ning suffer a loss. Ning Cheng wondered why Shi Lin didn't bring the mysterious yellow chi and primal chaos chi. Most likely, the myriad world auction already had the mysterious yellow chi. As for whether he brought the origin or not, it didn't matter. If the 10,000 Realms auction was in good condition, they could still pay attention to it. But now, they had to quickly raise the reputation of the 10,000 Realms auction. As for why he didn't want the Chaos Chi, it was probably because he was afraid that the price would be too high. Manager Shi, I only have 1 drop of quintessential essence of the universe. As for the 5-element Chaos Chi, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Ning Cheng would never take out too much of the quintessential essence of the universe. The quintessential essence of the universe was different from other treasures. It was not only related to one's cultivation level. There were simply too many places where the quintessential essence of the universe could be used. The reason why Ning Cheng was willing to take out a drop of it was that he wanted to thank the Myriad Worlds auction house for providing him with the breath soil. Even if the Myriad Realms auction didn't want to help Ning Cheng when they took out the breath soil, he still felt grateful. One had to know that breathing soil was not cabbage. Sometimes, even if you had an entire planet's God's spiritual vein, you might not be able to buy one. Because of this, Ning Cheng didn't let the Myriad Realms auction bid first. Of course, Shi Lin's attitude was also very sincere. Thank you, Daoist Ning. Daoist Ning, please state your price. Shi Lin was overjoyed. He knew that Ning Cheng was helping him. If he still wanted to scheme against Ning Cheng at this time, then he could forget about getting anything from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't state a price. Instead, he took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to Shi Lin. These are the 5-element Chaos Chi and a drop of quintessential essence of the universe. Shi Lin grabbed the 2 jade bottles excitedly. He hadn't expected that Ning Cheng would give them to him without even stating a price. He wasn't an idiot. After grabbing the jade bottles, he didn't put them away. Instead, he cupped his fists and asked, Daoist Ning, if you have any requests, just say them. As long as the Myriad Realms auction can do it, we will definitely not refuse. Ning Cheng smiled and said, I really have 2 things that I need the Myriad Realms auction to help me with. The first thing is to help me enclose a piece of land in heaven and earth's beyond. Enclose a piece of land? Shi Lin looked at Ning Cheng in confusion. Ning Cheng nodded. Yes, I'm about to leave heaven and earth's beyond, but I will definitely come back to develop in the future. Therefore, I have to ask the Infinite World Auction House to help me with this territory. The bigger the territory, the better, the more, the better. If it's not enough, when I come back here again, I will definitely compensate the Myriad Realms auction. After staying in heaven and earth's beyond for some time, Ning Cheng had long understood the importance of heaven and earth's beyond. As long as the Grand Essence realm wanted to develop and not be controlled by others, it had to have a voice in heaven and earth's beyond. Otherwise, no matter how strong the Grand Essence realm was, it would be controlled by heaven and earths beyond one day. Imagine the experts of various planes gaining a foothold in heaven and earths beyond. With a unified front, it would be difficult for the Grand Essence realm to intervene in the future. Taoist Ning, don't worry. Leave this matter to the Myriad Realms auction. After hearing Ning Cheng's words, Shi Lin put away the jade bottle and said very cautiously. He did not promise Ning Cheng how much land he would enclose. After all, in heaven and earths beyond, every inch of land was worth a lot of gold. If he promised too much land, he would have to spend countless divine crystals. Shi Lin suddenly thought of something. After Ning Cheng entered the Mao family, he did not destroy the Mao family. Could it be that he was waiting to destroy the Mao family in the future and then learn from that person and take the Mao family's land for himself? Thinking of this, Shi Lin subconsciously glanced at Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng really thought this way, it would be too terrifying. This was simply killing two birds with one stone. How scheming did one need to be to achieve such a feat? First, the land belonged to the Mao family, and no one could take it away. Before Ning Cheng came next time, the Mao family would definitely help him preserve the land. Second, he had given face to heavens beyond's heavenly master Feng Huangmei. When he came to heaven and earth's beyond in the future, it would be easier to talk to him. Third, he had taken a lot of divine crystals from the Mao family. Fourth, he had used the divine crystals taken from the Mao family to buy the breathing soil from the Myriad World auction. Moreover, he did not have to expose the quintessential essence of the universe and the chaos chi on the spot. Thinking of this, Shi Lin broke out in a cold sweat. Ning Cheng was too scheming. He could only befriend such a person. Once he offended him, he was afraid that the Myriad World auction would become the next Lu family. If Ning Cheng knew what Shi Lin was thinking, he would really be speechless. He did have some plans, but they were not as perfect as Shi Lin said. Taoist Ning, the Mao family is not that simple. The Mao family also has a patriarch called Mao Tianqi, who is a creation realm expert. Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng was generous, so he simply gave Ning Cheng some advice. Sometimes, schemes were simply useless in the face of strength. I know. Didn't they say that the patriarch of the Mao family went out and would only return after 100 years? Ning Cheng replied. After he returned this time, he planned to use the mysterious very ancient clan's growth rings to continue cultivating in seclusion. He had offended too many people in heavens beyond, so he had to work hard to improve his strength. 100 years in the depths of the growth rings was equivalent to cultivating for 10,000 years. He did not believe that he had the mysterious yellow bead, countless treasures, and the supreme Tao runes of the growth rings. He would not be able to cultivate to the Tao integration realm in 10,000 years. Given his previous cultivation speed, it would not be a problem for him to advance to the perfected Tao integration realm. He had already thought of these ideas when he had gone to the Mao family. When he had been at the perfected Tao transformation realm, he could easily challenge the primordial Tao realm. Once he reached the perfected Tao integration realm, he did not believe that he could not deal with a creation realm expert. If he had been a little worried before, after seeing Feng Huangmei, Ning Cheng became more confident. Do you know why no experts from the Min family came to find you after you taught a lesson to them? Shi Lin saw that Ning Cheng did not realize the seriousness of the matter, so he added another sentence. Nu Hu coughed on the side, apparently feeling that Shi Lin had said too much. These words were not what the Myriad World auction should say. Shi Lin smiled slightly as if he had not heard Nu Hu's cough. His strength was similar to Nu Hu's, but he was the manager, while Nu Hu was not. The main reason was that he was good at reading people. Ning Cheng could not be a simple primordial chaos sacred emperor, so his future achievements would be very high. Befriending Ning Cheng now was much more valuable than befriending him in the future. Now that he could gain Ning Cheng's favor by saying a few words, why not? Ning Cheng took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Could it be that the Min family also has a creation realm expert who is not in heavens beyond? Shi Lin gave Ning Cheng a look of affirmation. That's right. Not only the experts from the Min family and the Mao family, but even the experts from the Myriad World Auction are not in heavens beyond for the time being. Otherwise, how could the fish from the Dragon Clan snatch the Khanate Dragon Pearl at the auction venue? They all went to the same place, but I'm not sure what they did. I'm sure that once they return, their strength will definitely go to another level. Then why didn't the heavens beyond's Lord Feng Huangmei go? Ning Cheng asked doubtfully. Shi Lin did not answer Ning Cheng's question and only shook his head. Ning Cheng did not ask again. Since Shi Lin did not say anything, there must be a reason. However, Ning Cheng had learned from Shi Lin that the expert who snatched the Khanate Dragon Pearl was from the Dragon Clan. No wonder he used the water pattern Dao Rune Divine Power as soon as he made his move. I have another thing to ask of Manager Shi. I want to look for stabilizing soil and Hengran. The Myriad Realm Auction is the largest auction house in the beyond of heaven and earth. If you have these two items, please leave them for me. When I come to the beyond of heaven and earth again, I'll be very grateful. After saying that, Ning Cheng even stood up and cupped his fists to bow. Daoist Ning wants to restore the broken world. Shi Lin stood up in shock when he heard Ning Cheng's words. Ning Cheng had obtained the breathing soil and was now asking for stabilizing soil and Hengran. What else could it be if not to restore the broken world? Ning Cheng sighed. I'm just thinking about this. I don't know if I can restore the broken world that I live in my lifetime, but I'll try my best. Shi Lin bowed to Ning Cheng with a solemn expression and said with a hint of respect, Daoist Ning, regardless of whether you can restore it or not, I respect your great wisdom and hard work. Chapter 1226. Even knew who was moved by Ning Cheng's thoughts. Few Starry Sky Dao cultivators had the same thoughts as Ning Cheng. The universe was vast. If one plane broke, one could just go to another plane. No one would put their energy into repairing a world, as it would be a waste of life and energy. Ning Cheng had spent so much to bid for the breath soil, and this was under the circumstances where he had gained the upper hand. It was clear how difficult it was to repair a world and gather all the other treasures. Besides, even if one could gather all the treasures, who would be willing to take them out or be willing to use them to repair a world? Because of this, Shi Lin and Niu Hu were shocked by Ning Cheng's selflessness. Daoist Ning, you injured sacred Dao Sect's Luo Qinghe. I'm afraid things won't end like this. You have to be careful. Niu Hu reminded Ning Cheng for the first time. Shi Lin nodded. Yes, Sacred Dao Sect's sect master destroyed the Lu family. Sacred Dao Sect's sect master was amazing. He only had primordial chaos cultivation, but he could easily kill a Dao integration cultivator. Even the Lu family's family head, Lu Qianhe, who was at the creation realm, didn't come back when he fought with that sect master. I'm afraid he was in trouble. Primordial chaos cultivation? Ning Cheng asked in surprise. He himself was at the primordial chaos realm. He could also kill a Dao integration expert, but what did he cultivate? The mysterious yellow formless was a creation cultivation technique derived from the creation mysterious yellow bead. Could it be that there was another person like him who also cultivated the creation technique? Could he kill a Dao integration expert at the primordial chaos realm? Could he even kill a creation realm expert? Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the first time he had heard of such a terrifying primordial chaos sacred emperor. Back when he was at the Mao family, if Feng Huangmei wanted to deal with him, he could only escape. This showed that the primordial chaos sacred emperor mentioned by Shi Lin was stronger than him. They were both primordial chaos sacred emperors, but they were stronger than him. This made Ning Cheng immediately vigilant. When that person destroyed the Lu family, was he early-stage primordial chaos or late-stage primordial chaos? Ning Qing sucked in a breath of cold air and asked in a solemn tone. Shi Lin also answered very seriously, neither. I heard the ancestor of the Myriad Realm auction say that he was at the peak of mid-stage primordial chaos and was about to reach the late-stage primordial chaos. Ning Qing breathed a sigh of relief. He had just attained the primordial chaos advancement and was considered an early-stage primordial chaos. In addition to injuring Luo Qinghe, I also crippled an idiot. Ning Qing spoke with an indifferent tone. That young man was crippled by the old fart, but this debt would definitely be placed on his head, so he was not afraid at all. Shi Lin sneered, that Yi Huangping only sees himself as a nobody. In fact, if it wasn't for giving Luo Qinghe face, when he dared to rush out of the auction box to question you, my Myriad Realms auction would have thrown him out. Even if the sacred Dao sect master came, he wouldn't say that the infinite domain auction did anything wrong. Ning Qing nodded and did not care about Shi Lin's words. He reckoned that Yi Huangping was just a junior with some status in the sacred Dao sect, so he wouldn't take this matter to heart. The sacred Dao sect master is very powerful. Directly destroy the Lu clan, and then occupy the Lu clan's territory? Ning Qing asked again. If there was such a powerful person in heavens beyond, the old fart had just crippled that Yi Huangping guy not long ago, so the other party would probably find an excuse to come. He recalled what Luo Qinghe had said before leaving. It seemed that he really had to be on guard. Shi Lin shook his head, that's not it. The Lu clan was courting death. The sacred Dao sect master opened a MOU elixir dispensary in heavens beyond that specialized in pill business. The MOU elixir dispensary's pills were indeed very good and cheap. This squeezed the Lu clan's business because the Lu clan's main business in heavens beyond was pills. The Lu clan purposely sent people to the MOU elixir dispensary to cause trouble, saying that there was a problem with the pills they bought, causing people to suffer from qi deviation. The MOU elixir dispensary's people came out to explain that the pills they brought weren't from the MOU elixir dispensary. In the end, the Lu clan came out and razed the elixir dispensary to the ground. They killed all the pill masters and all the employees in the elixir dispensary. One of them was the personal disciple of the sacred Dao sect master. So ruthless. Ning Qing sighed. This wasn't the end. In order to deter outsiders from opening an elixir dispensary, the Lu clan hung the heads of all the employees in the MOU elixir dispensary's ruins as a warning. Shi Lin sighed. The sacred Dao sect master returned to heavens beyond at this time. When he saw the tragic state of the MOU elixir dispensary, he immediately sealed the entire heavens beyond. Heaven Lord Feng Yellowbrowed had a conflict with him because of this, but he didn't seem to gain any advantage. Feng Yellowbrowed also knew that the Lu clan had gone overboard this time, so he didn't really make a move and silently allowed the sect master to seal heavens beyond. The second thing the sect master did was seal the entire Lu clan. The Lu family had been peaceful the entire day he had been there. A day later, he and the Lu clan's ancestor fought their way out of the Lu clan and broke countless restrictions of heavens beyond into the void. A few days later, no one could break the Lu clan's restriction. Heaven Lord Feng Yellowbrowed went to the Lu clan to have a look. No one was left alive in the Lu clan. They were all killed, and the entire residence was in ruins. In order to stabilize heavens beyond, Heaven Lord Feng didn't allow anyone to get close to the Lu clan. As expected, the sect master returned a few days later, but there was no news of Lu Qianhe. Later, the major forces of heavens beyond invited the sect master to a banquet. At the same time, they gave all the Lu clan's territory to this new expert. Ning Qing slammed the table. Good job. If it were me, I would also annihilate the Lu clan. He was slightly puzzled as to why heavens beyond did not want any of the Lu clan's territory and gave it all to an outsider. Was the sect master really so powerful that he could wipe out the entire heavens beyond? Daoist Ning, the Myriad Realm auction is very busy now. Elder Nu and I won't disturb you anymore. Shi Lin got up and left. Ning Qing knew that Shi Lin wanted to befriend him, so he didn't reject it. In the future, when he came to Heavens Beyond, he would need Shi Lin's help in many areas. It wasn't a bad thing for him to be friends with the Myriad Realm auction. After sending Shi Lin and Nu Hu away, Ning Qing put up a restriction in the room and left a message outside the restriction. He was going to sculpt Jiang Man's body. Mou Elixir Dispensary was one of the most famous elixir dispensaries in the entire Heavens Beyond. The elixir pills here were not only complete but not expensive, but their effects were also better than similar elixir pills. Because Mou Elixir Dispensary was so famous, almost everyone who came to Heavens Beyond would go to Mou Elixir Dispensary to buy some elixir pills. Mou Elixir Dispensary was getting bigger and bigger. Its reputation in Heavens Beyond was no less than that of the Myriad Realm auction. At the moment, more than 10 people were discussing something in the top floor of Mou Elixir Dispensary. A young woman in a blue dress was sitting in the middle. If Ning Qing was here, he would definitely recognize this woman as the woman with the surname Yi, whom he had saved a few times. Tian Muan was next to her. I'm going back to the sacred Tao world to comprehend primordial chaos. I'll leave this place to Brother Luo. In Heavens Beyond, the reason Mou Elixir Dispensary can exist isn't because of how many powerful people we have but because of how good our elixir pills are. Our Mou Elixir Dispensary and even Divine Tao Sect's powerful people are really nothing compared to Heavens Beyond. We can even be said to be the weakest. So, I hope that no matter what happens, we can endure a little. Of course, I believe that no one will bully our Mou Elixir Dispensary for no reason. The woman in blue dress said. After all these years of wandering in the void, she was no longer that ignorant young girl. The Myriad Realm auction was so powerful, but wasn't it because people robbed things at the auction? We're fine, but Deacon Huang Ping. A slightly hesitant voice sounded, but it didn't finish its sentence in the end. The girl in blue dress nodded. Ji Lei Qian Bei, don't worry, I will take him away this time. As for this deacon, I will get rid of him. Auntie, help me take revenge. Just as the girl in the blue dress finished speaking, a mournful cry rang out. Everyone looked at the door. The person who could sneak in without anyone noticing must be Luo Qinghe. Indeed, it was Luo Qinghe standing at the door. There was a youth behind Luo Qinghe who was carrying a young man. Brother Qinghe, what's going on? The woman's face changed. How could she not see that Yi Huangping's cultivation level was crippled, completely crippled? The strongest person in Mou Pill Dispensary in Heavens Beyond was Luo Qinghe. Luo Qinghe got along well with her brother and they got along well. Plus, he was grateful and respected her father, so he lowered his status and became brothers with her brother. Even Brother Qinghe couldn't protect Huangping. It seemed he caused quite some trouble this time. Tian Muwan's gaze swept over the paralyzed Yi Huangping, revealing a trace of relief. Ever since she came to Mou Pill Dispensary, she felt this person was a rat shit. Yi Huangping used the excuse of giving pills to pester her many times. If it wasn't that Sister Mo was too kind to her and her cultivation level was too low, she would have left long ago. Auntie. The youth behind Luo Qinghe bowed respectfully and retreated to the side. Luo Qinghe said with guilt, it's my cultivation level that wasn't good enough to protect Huangping. I'm sorry Brother Bao. Bei Wang will tell you the details. The blue-robed woman ignored the crippled youth and said to the youth, Bei Wang, tell me everything from the beginning to the end without missing a single detail. Yes. The youth's tone was even more respectful and he told her everything word by word. He didn't even hide how the youth opened the door and yelled at room 8. The woman's face looked bad as she listened. When she heard Yi Huangping threaten to send someone else's Dao partner to the dual cultivation building, she was extremely furious. After the youth finished, she stared coldly at Yi Huangping, I'm wondering why other people didn't kill you and let you live. Even if the Yi family is the strongest in heavens beyond, you deserve to be killed for your arrogant behavior, let alone the fact that the Yi family can't do whatever they want in heavens beyond. Chapter 12:27. Hearing this, Yi Huangping's face changed drastically. He knew his auntie's status in the Yi family. Even his dad had to listen to auntie. Now that his auntie said this, his world dimmed down. Brother Qinghe, take me to see this powerful being. The blue-robed woman got up. Then, she scanned Yi Huangping on the ground. As for him, I will bring him to Mou immortal sect in the immortal realm. Let him live there in the future. Okay. Luo Qinghe immediately agreed. No matter who Yi Huangping was, Mou Pill Tower or Divine Dao sect had to ask about him. Muwen, come with me. The blue-robed woman called Tian Muwen. After the three walked out of Mou Pill Tower, the blue-robed woman said apologetically to Tian Muwen, sorry, Muwen. I also know that Yi Huangping was rude to you. I thought we were going to leave soon and I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. He only has himself to blame for being crippled this time. Tian Muwen quickly said, if it wasn't for sister saving me many times, I would have been dead already. We don't need to talk about this. The blue-robed woman shook her head. I always thought the Divine Dao sect was invincible in the world and my father was number one in the universe. After I walked out, I realized that there were too many things we didn't know about this world. When I returned to heavens beyond heaven, I realized that my father hadn't even reached the third step. No matter how strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. This phrase is always true. And Muwen, although I saved you, it was the same as helping myself. If it wasn't for you, I would have died many times. Tian Muwen was silent. She understood elder sister Mo's words, that is, the reason why Ning Cheng had saved them several times, was because of her face. At this moment, she suddenly felt lonely and melancholy. So what if she cultivated to an endless lifespan? It would be better to go to a tiny restaurant with Ning Cheng and have a good meal, and then happily walk around the campus. There's always someone better than you. She also understood this a bit late. Initially, she had thought that she could become a true cultivator. Knowing that she had misunderstood Ning Cheng in the past, she had never thought of apologizing to Ning Cheng. She even felt that there was a difference between immortals and mortals, and that she and Ning Cheng were no longer in the same world. Later, she realized how ridiculous it was. She was very clear as to why Ning Cheng treated her this way. Moreover, she also understood Ning Cheng's temperament. Even if she felt sorry for Ning Cheng, even if she caused trouble for Ning Cheng would never treat her like this. The real thing that Ning Cheng had taken away from her heart, was that hair clip. She could throw away the pearl hair clip, but she should not have put Ning Cheng's pearl hair clip in the hands of another man, and then borrowed another man's hand to throw it away. Tian Muwen subconsciously touched the pearl hair clip on her chest. Her heart felt even more lonely. If she could, she would rather return to the moment before Ning Cheng gave her the pearl hair clip. All these years, she had traveled to many realms and experienced countless heaven realms. She had truly seen that there was always someone stronger than her. But these were really not what she wanted. Her lifespan grew longer and longer, and her strength grew stronger and stronger. However, she spoke less and less, and her life grew lonelier and lonelier. Only when she went into secluded cultivation, could she forget all of it. Seeing Tian Muwen silent, the blue-robed woman did not disturb her contemplation. Instead, she looked at Luo Qinghe and asked, was that person arrogant? Luo Qinghe hesitated for a moment before speaking. At the auction, because of Huang Ping's rudeness, he provoked Huang Ping with a sentence. He wasn't arrogant the rest of the time. I felt that he was a bit like sect master, with an indescribable aura and Dao charm. If Huang Ping hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him, I don't think he would have provoked us. There was another sentence that Luo Qinghe didn't say. That is, Ning Cheng spared him once. An arrogant person, Ning Qing most likely would have killed him directly. He didn't let Bei Wang say anything about it, nor did he say anything about it. After an incense stick worth of time, the three people walked into the Western Domain Space Rest Stop. The inn's waiter quickly stopped the three people. "Three Dao friends, if you are looking for room A9, please come back after a while." The waiter knew Luo Qinghe because Luo Qinghe had come here once. Initially, he didn't pay attention to room A9, but after the Myriad Domain Auctions manager and the first protector arrived, the inn's shopkeeper came over. Moreover, he also received a message from the owner of room A9 that no one should disturb him during his seclusion. If anyone disturbed him, they would kill him without mercy. How could the Western Domain Space Rest Stop offend someone who knew Shilin's manager? Therefore, the shopkeeper wished that he could stand guard at the door of room A9. Now that he wasn't in the rest stop, he naturally warned the inn's waiter again and again. "Why?" Luo Qinghe asked with a frown. The waiter knew that these people definitely weren't simple, so he quickly bowed and said, "Seniors, please don't make things difficult for this junior. This junior is just a waiter. The guest in room A9 is at a critical juncture of his seclusion. Moreover, before he went into seclusion, the guest in room A9 said that anyone who disturbed him at this time would become his mortal enemy." Luo Qinghe frowned and was about to speak when the blue-robed woman pulled him back. "In that case, let's leave it at that. I will return to the sacred Tao sect first and visit them again next time." She urgently needed to gain insights into the primordial chaos realm. For her, it would be better to return to the sacred Tao sect to gain insights into this realm. At this moment, Ning Qing indeed wouldn't come out even if anyone disturbed him. He had already taken out the soul-gathering immortal lotus and placed it aside. The room's spirit-gathering array was filled with divine essence pills. He had obtained these divine essence pills from the primordial chaos sacred emperors who had robbed him. They were just right for Jiang Man's body. Jiang Man's essence spirit was still hunched over in the crystal ball. Even though Ning Qing had used the pill mist, Jiang Man's essence spirit in the crystal ball still twitched. Ning Qing patted the soul-gathering immortal lotus next to him, and the soul-gathering immortal lotus turned into a cyan mist in front of him. As the cyan mist grew thicker, Ning Qing patted the crystal ball again. Jiang Man's essence spirit in the crystal instantly fused with the cyan mist, and the aura of Tao charm lingered within it. As the divine essence pills continued to be absorbed and consumed, the soul-gathering immortal lotus and Jiang Man's essence spirit gradually condensed. Ning Qing kept forming hand seals, and at the same time, he also fused several streams of 5-element chaos qi. 10 days later, Ning Qing still kept grabbing spirit crystals and sending them into the spirit-gathering array. Jiang Man's body finally condensed completely. Ning Qing grabbed a starry sky cultivator's robe and threw it over. Jiang Man happened to open his eyes at the same time. After a brief moment of confusion, Jiang Man immediately recognized Ning Qing. "Brother Ning!" Ning Qing shouted, "Hurry up and stabilize your cultivation. I'll help you." Jiang Man's body had recovered, but his cultivation had fallen to the early stage Tao sculpting level. Ning Qing had used the soul-gathering immortal lotus and 5-element chaos qi, along with the divine essence pills and a pile of spirit crystals. If it were anyone else, their cultivation would have fallen to almost nothing if they tried to restore their body. Jiang Man instantly understood that the Mao clan had taken him away. Ning Qing must have rescued him from the Mao clan and helped him rebuild his body. He, Jiang Man, did not recognize the wrong person. Even though he missed Mu Yueping very much, Jiang Man still quickly sat down and closed his eyes. He used the soul-gathering immortal lotus and the 5-elemental chaos qi to stabilize his body and raise his cultivation. Ning Qing raised his hand and took out a drop of true essence of the universe and flicked it onto Jiang Man's body. Jiang Man immediately felt the endless Tao charm aura and pure spirit qi rushing over. He didn't even need to absorb it. He just needed to follow this Tao charm aura to restore his strength. What kind of treasure was this? Jiang Man felt shocked. What puzzled him was how this person recognized him. After all, he had changed his appearance at the auction. Tell me, why did you come here? If you can't tell me 3, 2, 1, I will take away your innate Dragon Ball and kill you, Ning Qing said in a cold tone. He didn't believe that Ao Kan had come to him by accident. If Jiang Man's body sculpting wasn't about to be completed, Ao Kan's disturbance would have put Jiang Man in danger. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.